Whoa. You went in here, remember? You went to a restaurant here, there, and Connor had skipped lunch.
You skipped lunch? Or had you already eaten?
We skipped.
Mm-hmm.
And we walked around the park.
Yeah, weren't you with us when we had the pie?
What pie?
At 5 o'clock. That was what we had.
Yeah. No! Come here. 31 is what? Yeah.
Hi, boy.
Mommy, right over.
You look a little wild.
What?
Okay, now. You play something with both hands? Thank you. Thank you.
When I'm not ready yet.
Oh,
Okay,
go
ready?
ahead whenever you're ready.
I'm gonna play Alligator 2 next.
I'll have to go load it.
I'm gonna go get my mom too. No. No, you're about to find the wrapper. Be very thick. The front is very thick. Oh, that. No. You're right. What did I? Give me a clue on mine. It's something to do with right today. Give me a clue on mine. Today?
Yours has no color.
Hey, where's the bag? I got mine.
I'm sorry. Where's the bag of prizes?
It starts with an M. Right here. And it ends with the O.
They don't look Christina.
I'm not. I'm pulling out the Remember from. I'm going to end with a T. Mine bigger than a T.
What's first?
I got mine. I was first. I don't know what mine is. It's right here. Knucklehead pretty freckle. And Jennifer.
And Jennifer. All right, now you're gonna make your who goes around next to those everybody's name?
The big boss?
Oh no, that's not fair.
Yes, it is, big boss.
Tom, will you help me?
Look this way, smile, broadly. At Christina's birthday party, this is Grandma all decked out in her Easter bonnet.
Nobody else wants to try? Okay, Angela.
Turn sideways now, so we gotta look sideways. Thank you.
We can't find the silver fox. Colin said somebody took it.
Oh, where the silver fox was at?
Yeah.
Did it blow? Did you look around to see if it maybe had blown away?
School bus. Oh God, Chris.
No, don't take off. you doing there, boy? You having fun?
Some of these people are real fun.
Yeah, but not everyone. I don't know everybody, and I don't know everybody's abilities here.
I don't know anybody.
It will be tomorrow.
I know. Oh, I never know this. I'm being saved. I'll just open one soon, too.
Everybody sing Here Comes the Bride.
Here comes the bride, down the water slide. And bite you on the ear. What are friends for anyway? Happy birthday. This evening. We're going.
Hey, Colin, I can't see.
Yes, standing on the table.
Yeah, this is
That's
wonderful.
what it's from. I open the card. I'll open it. Okay.
I'm done just a little bit.
More books. I like this.
Oh, I like the pussycat.
Hi, cameraman. Look at Lisa Frank. Hi. I'm having fun. What is it? It's the
Okay, there's two of them. See this one and this one.
Can I see it? The first one and the second one. Oh, but speaking of the old clock, the huge stickers. Oh my god. Here. One. You like that one? Here. I got one
what
too,
have you
Chris.
got?
This one didn't come. Mine has flamingos on it. This one didn't come. No, it doesn't. It's from my
Put them here. I'm going to
grandma.
pile up the presents.
This is from my grandma. Open this. This is
Can
from
I
my
have
grandma.
this book called Grimm's Fairy Tale?
Where'd you get this from?
I'll open it at Walmart.
I made that.
I know, but I want to put all the presents there so I can keep track of them.
They brought this on Nickelodeon.
Lock or mirror, huh?
Look at the content. It's a game. What is it?
Note abilities for juniors. Baby grand piano and 300 favorite songs.
Oh. Who's that from? Me and my sister. This could go with it. Is there a card that goes with this? Yeah, this. Hey, you forgot to open up this. That's my grandma's card. Okay? Your birthday, so. Now, chow down. Here, open all your presents and have fun. I got a Bianca one. I have that.
Now, what happened to that money?
Oh, cool. Can we play this? Maybe. Yeah, maybe. That's good. Can we play it? Really good. I'll play it. I love that game. Yes, Family Double Dare. Random Double Dare. Random Double Dare.
Wild hair.
Mickey, up my neck. Okay. Christmas paper.
Smile, you're on Candy's camera.
From Grace and Dennis.
Look at the pretty handwriting on that one.
Dennis,
Oh, that looks like fun. That looks like something you can do out here, doesn't
Yeah, you
it?
can put it out here. Thanks, Grace. Thank you, Chris.
Don't know
I'll open this one. Okay, to Christina from Amanda. Awesome earrings. No! Yeah. Keep passing it on. Christina, come with all the stuff on the side. Who's that? Christina from Jenny. Christina. Chris! Chris! Present! Yeah, Chris. I found a spot. Chris. I thought it was mine. It's a shoebox.
You guys are terrible.
Hey, Chris.
Hey.
All right. Everybody about ready to start singing?
No.
Wait a second. Wait a second. Out.
Don't burn your own self, miss. Don't burn yourself.
All right.
Happy birthday to you. Happy
What a terrible boy. Well, you got one candle out.
She's got a I didn't blow
All
that
right,
one.
we'll light it again, and then you'll see how many boyfriends you have.
Ooh, you never sang how old are you? You got one. Can I have that piece? That piece is for
You haven't had one yet?
No. Me.
And this one needs ice cream too. Colin's still waiting.
Colin gets the elbow. Christina.
No, this is
What
Colin.
Colin gets the elbow.
Is that enough ice
Colin
cream?
gets the booby. This is not mine. Scared.
Okay, well you can take it out and you can do another one yourself, okay? I'll get your name.
I want another egg, Mom.
Okay, well let's get Colin one then. You want to do one in there?
Look.
I want another one. I'm still working on the pink one.
Let's get
You want your inside to be tree?
Here's sweetie.
Oh my God.
Put it on your...
Can I pull out this orange one? No, that needs one.
Okay, what's on
Hi, Grandpa. Hi, Blue.
Oh, these are ready to do
Cool,
the,
I mean,
the
yeah.
wrappers, so I'll do some...
Mom, is this
I'll
ready
get
to come
these
out?
ready, and then you can do one of these. Okay?
Mom, I'll just take that. Mom, is this ready to come out?
If you want, it's up to you.
Isn't that a pretty pale one, Tom?
Oh,
I don't know.
do you want it?
Blue.
Okay.
That's mine.
Okay, put your thing out. Okay. Edward, what do you need? I need a... Okay. How's this one come? Oh, that's... Okay.
So let's try it. Let's try it. Here, that one.
Okay, we'll try it.
Try it, Mom. Ooh, it's pretty pale blue. This one is my leg. Mine is, my shirt is green.
Yeah, all right. Elizabeth, here's your wrapper. When we get done, we can color this one, okay? Anybody else want to do a wrapper? What's the matter, Edward?
Grandpa! Here, there, that's a pretty one. Yeah, look how it's
Oh, yeah, that's pretty.
Look how he dyed that. Colin. Colin. We can beat it. Colin. Earth to Colin.
Here, well, should we make this a pink one?
Yeah, that one's ready. Is it ready? That one's done. What do you think?
Yeah, that's pretty.
Oh, that's yellow.
Yeah, it's kind of yellow. It's kind of pretty.
What? Can I get another egg?
Yeah. Sure.
What color do I want?
You want red?
Eradicate.
Oh,
I want orange. I want orange. Maybe there's a baby chicken here. Why'd you do that? It was a Christmas present for Grandma and Grandpa. See my egg. Oh, cute! Look at Elizabeth.
Did you get the Stevens one of those too?
What? See my daddy. Shut up.
Uh-oh.
Oh, well. Forget it. It's done.
Somebody's breakfast.
Well,
Somebody ready for breakfast?
not
Bad.
It's okay. Put it on the thing. Who wants the wrapped one?
I will. I'll have one. 3 more wraps.
Okay. Where do you want it? Yours in the blue?
What are these? Stickers? Yeah. When they're dry, you can stick them on the egg. Ow! I pulled my
Are
cat.
you alright? Oh, that's a pretty one.
That's green. That's like hot green. Hot yellow. Hot green. You want to do this after where you punch it out and it makes a little performance curtain?
Alright, do you need another egg?
Yeah.
What color do you need?
There. We're gonna kill me with that. Yellow.
Yellow? Okay, here's the yellow.
I need another one. Where did that one go? That one. That one. Give me that. Okay, stop. Give me this. Honey, this camera, newsman. Please, give me this. Quiet down. You quiet down. Make me. We can make me quiet down. Look at these. You want to see mine is special egg? Yeah,
You want one like this?
man.
Mess right here.
Okay, let me make sure I got a line on this real quick. Now, as I lay these out, what I'm probably going to do is bring the table on and lay them all out so you guys can view them as a whole, go side by side. At this point, do not start taking these, okay? Leave them here, and then after we're all done, I'll split them up, let people take some Polaroids, so we can have some images to take home. The system's down, so if you can hear me, come forward and fill in some of the chairs up closer if you don't mind. What we're talking about right now is talk a little bit about the construction, what this thing consists of. This is nothing more than foam core panels that are mounted and glued to a wood framework that are hinged. There's two sides to it. You see the low key side now. There's a high key side on the opposite side. So we have two different looks we can create. They are 32 inches wide, 8 feet tall, okay? They are foldable, so when you're not using them, you can fold them up, put them up against the wall. We use foam core so they're lightweight, easy to maneuver. One word of warning, foam core is very fragile. If you have a light stand fall and hit it really hard, you can poke a hole right through it, so you have to be a little cautious when transporting it. When I first showed this set in January, I think a couple of big, heavy prom hitters out of Iowa purchased it. And they're taken on location. And they say the kids, stuff that they're doing with it, they did like a test market with it. And they just went nuts over it. Because you can shoot coupler. It's not something you just use for. Okay, that single strobe is a bare tube pointing straight up. And we have gels that are various colors. Okay, check. Is that better? Okay, so we have different gels that are in cylinder form that are all the same value. So when you drop one to the next, the exposure technically would not change. Now Steve was varying the power on the power light, so we had some that would be a little brighter, some would be a little darker, so you had a lot of variety, so it didn't get real stagnant. He also has a neutral density gel that he drops over there, so he can go with white light that are too the same value as the colors. So when you saw some of these Polaroids where it looks white, okay? That's when he dropped the ND on it. He eliminated the gel entirely. The split gels that we use, if you do not use a reflector around your flash tube, like the half-moon reflector, if you run 360-degree illumination, you can now take two gels, staple them together, make a cylinder, and now you can send red this way and blue that way, and they will not bleed. Okay, they will not bleed. If you have to, now you can take that, can you hand me over right there, this is your half-moon reflector? I've got half-moon here, actually. Okay, this is our red-blue split. Okay, It's nothing more than a blue and a red that, if you look through both of them, it almost looks purple. What you could do, if you wanted to take the same application and apply it to the general painted backgrounds, the black seamless, the stuff that we've talked about all day today, you can take that same concept, put it over your tube, as long as you put a piece of black right here so no light can reflect off of it and not contaminate your subject, you could technically light one backdrop with one light, two different colors. No problem. But the key is it cannot have white. You cannot do this. Okay? Because when white light, when light strikes the interface of this, it's going to disperse and start refracting those light rays, and they're going to crisscross each other. Now you're going to get a mixture. It's going to end up being purple. Paint this black, or put a piece of black cinefoil, that same stuff I talked about, how we block light. That light can't bounce off of it. Now you won't have contamination of that red and that blue coming back and hitting back your subject. You've got to create a glow. Here's a sample. It's a Roscoe
Both sides
product.
can see it.
And you can wrinkle it up. You can create your own barn doors, your own snoots, your own, any type of global you may need to sell us in various widths. And it's heat resistant. You don't have to worry about catching fire. It's just like aluminum foil. Cinefoil. Roscoe Cinefoil. They make this in various colors too. They make some that's silver on one side and a different color on the other, but the black seems to be the most popular. The choice of tools, like I said, I could have brought halos, I could have brought soft, halos, umbrellas, I could have brought it all. But I didn't have enough room in my van. I had to keep it simple, so I just take the same two lights and go set to set to set, work with what I've got, period. This set, no difference. We use a hair light coming from above, up and over the panels. Whether you mount it on a boom, that's your option. I just want to bring it up over the top. I don't like to work with booms if I can help it. I don't like having big counterbalances and big stands that I trip on. If I put them out of my way where I won't trip on them, better off I am. So we have a light stand coming right up over the top, shining to create my shoulder break and my hair illumination. As far as exposure, we treat it just like we did all day. Basically on hair color, the pad was set up on about a half stop more light in the main and fill. The other optional lights that we are using are purely optional. We've worked with what we have. I'm not saying to create portraits on the set you need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lights to do it. It's not necessary. Pick and choose, work with the lights that you have. You can use a Vivitar 283 over here and skim gels on the floor. That's no problem. But work with the things that you have. Pick and choose different combinations. This is the ultimate. And you saw why I had so many, so I could turn things on and off and offer you a variety of polarized in the least amount of time. And we don't shoot like that in the studio, don't get me wrong. This is just to prove, I wish I did.
We done 10,000 seniors in one day, right?
So it's to prove that all the things that we've talked about, consistency, predictability, you've heard that many times today, we can achieve that and save a lot of time, save a lot of energy, and offer our client, the bottom line, offer our client a variety. That's what I'm trying to put to this whole program. Not get in and doing the same thing day here. And all we do is point our meter at the flash tube. Okay? And we're reading for what the camera sees, not for what's back behind it, but for what the camera sees. Right.
I'll bring this on. We're
Okay.
see the high key.
If we need edge lighting, again, this is an optional light. If we want to use an edge light source to create a good separation along the edge of the body, so dark clothing doesn't have a tendency to fall into darker portions of our background, this is what we call a rim light. It's the first time you see me use it today. We use a little small half dome so we get a nice soft illumination for pretty much the entire length of the body, and we treat it also, keep it subtle, keep it equal. Equal to your maiden fill, it'll give you just a little bit of a break. That's all we want. You don't want, this is not a light that we're trying to do a lot of facial lighting. It's a body light source. Edge light. if you looked at the Polaroids, we did have one mistake on some of our Polaroids. If anybody caught it, anybody catch it? I don't want to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, don't say nothing.
Never admit to your mistakes, right? That's what they say. If you ever make a mistake in the middle of a session, somehow tell them, oh, I'm trying something new, even though you didn't have the camera loaded. And they'll never know that. But we've all made mistakes, and we're all human. So, all right. Then we have what I call floor light. There's nothing more than set up 2 lights on each side, one with red gel, one with blue gel, and be able to turn them on in different combinations, like both together, one or the other. And they do nothing more than come through these so-called mountains. But all this is a Roman muslin that we've draped over light stands. That's all it's underneath. You could take a block of wood and put a pole in the middle of it. What's nice about light stands is I can vary the height, depending on where I'm shooting full length. You could raise them way up high and have your subject lean onto it. There's no end to what you can do. But using muslins in a different fashion, instead of using them behind or off to the side, try to use them on the floor. Whole different look, especially when you create these different colors. When we skim gels across the flooring, we have to account for the color of the materials that we're using in the flooring. If we're doing like dark grays, you need to add a little bit more light. The gray is going to suck it up. You got to pump some light onto it. So we adjust our floor lighting to be about almost a stop brighter than the main and fill. So we get a lot of vibrant colors bouncing off this floor. It's taking place in the flooring. That's why you got a good rich blue and some red hitting the different pleats that are in the what they call a Roman.
People's homes and set up, we try to use their environment to create the portraits. We feel like that we can sell more, make more personal portraits, which include things that are important to them. Therefore, we can sell larger portraits also. It gives us a chance to be more creative. So this is our traveling studio. We can't afford a real studio, so we rent a truck. But if you notice, we do have a wall portrait hanging on it up there. Actually, I tell you what, go ahead, Stephen, I'm sorry. Turn those lights down. If I miss anything, I'll go back to the notes. Okay? I'll look at them after. Oh. Okay. Now you turn it off. You know, after last night, how do you work this thing? After seeing Talon yesterday, all day, I mean, all the stuff that guy does and how technical he is, I'm kind of embarrassed. I can't figure out how to work a flashlight. And as far as all this meter stuff, you know, and measure this and measure that, man, I just put the lights there. I shoot at F8. I figure the lab can take care of it. That's really not true. I really do use the meter, but not as often as I should. This is just a typical little southern house in Mississippi, Texas, Louisiana. I mean, it's a kind of a standard type thing we go to every day. Yeah, we do believe that. Or don't believe it. It's not true. We are fortunate in the fact that we do get to do some clientele like this. And the reason I have this slide is because if I could choose one thing to do, this would be what I would do, besides sharing with you and giving lectures and talking. But I would do portrait photography like I did this city. This lady called me up from Yazoo City, Mississippi. Oh, Zig Ziglar, you know, Zig Ziglar, right? Well, this guy isn't Zig Ziglar, he's just a poor old farmer. Looks like a poor old farmer, doesn't he? But anyway, she called up and said, I'd like to come see my family, and I'd done her child 6-8 years earlier in Shreveport. And I said, well, I can come to Yazoo City, but I have to have a minimum order, because it's going to take the whole day to get over there and take a portrait and get back. I said, now, I wouldn't have to have a minimum order if you would find 2 other people that I could photograph the same day. Do you know of anybody else that might be interested in having something done? And she said, well, give me a couple of days and let me check around and I'll call you back. Well, 3 or 4 5 days later, she hadn't called, so I called her and said, well, did you find anybody? And because I really wanted to do this. And she said, in fact, I have. I do have 2 other people who are interested. And would you send them a brochure and write a little note? So I did. And so we set up an appointment, set up a day. I was going to be there one day, photograph all day. So I went in, and she said, why don't you come in the night before? She said, you can just stay with us at our house. She said, we have a extra bedroom. And you just come and stay there. And I said, okay, that's fine. So I said, how I get there? She said, it's right on the highway. She said, when you come around the curve, say, look way back in the cotton field, and you'll see the house. She said, it's kind of a colonial, you can't miss it. Well, believe me, when you turn the curve and you see this thing sitting out there in the field, you can't miss it. But it was a nice house, but I spent the evening there, had dinner with these people. In fact, she said, do you play tennis? I said, yeah, at that time I was real athletic. I was into tennis. So she said, I'll get you a tennis match. We had a little tennis court out back. I said, great. So she did. She got the local tennis club pro to come out there and just trounced me. But at any rate, I had dinner with these people, and we sat around and visited about their family. I got to know the kids. I kind of saw who liked who and who was having problems with whom, and really began to see that there's a whole lot more to families and photographing families than just setting people in a row or in chairs and taking their pictures. I began to see that there really is a psychology involved in family relationships. And like I say, this was just neat to be able to spend the evening with them. Mom and I then picked out the clothes and talked about where we were going to do this portrait. And, she didn't say, as long as you're here, I want you to do the kids, I want some of my husband, I want some of the 2 of us. We talked about doing the family. And we normally do not do what is called split sittings, where you do some of one thing and some of another. We like to do and create what we're there for. And what we're there for this time is create a family portrait. I don't be concerned about what I'm going to do with the kids. Am I going to do them inside, outside, play clothes, dress up? I want to think about how I'm going to get this family most relaxed, most loving, most caring about each other, and who goes next to whom. And so, as we talked that night, as I looked at the clothes and picked out the place, then we got up the next morning. First thing, everybody got dressed, and I got the equipment and got it set up. And we decided to do it in the den, so we did a few things, but then they just had a gorgeous living room, light blue colors, and they were all dressed in light blues and white. And I said, now let's go in. We're going to do one of the living rooms. So I said, why don't you all go ahead in the living room. I will follow. I'll just bring my equipment. So they go in there, and I get a handful of equipment, and I start moving in. And when I walked in with the camera, no lights, just the camera, set the camera down, and I looked, and I said, this is great. I said, don't move. I said, you are just the way this thing ought to be. And so, without any lights, at 1/8 of a second, 5/6, I took a photograph. And if you'll turn the lights up, I'd like to show you a smaller one of it. They actually bought a 40x50 on canvas. This one is beat up. This is several years ago now. This is how they were seated. Okay? And why was I so enthralled and said, don't move, this is it? I had to do very little rearranging. But what was so neat about this was after spending the evening with him and seeing how this little guy was always clinging to Mom, and how these two had their own special relationship. After dinner, these were the two that went off over there and played or talked to each other. This guy was just kind of independent, and the one guy I did have to move was this guy right here, because he was leaning on the piano kind of like this guy was, and he was way over by himself. But this little girl, after dinner, she and her dad got on the tractor and left and went back out to do something down to the farmhouse or whatever. So when I walked in and saw this, I said, it really works. People really do have different relationships within a family at any given time. And so I took this portrait, and this is the one they wound up buying. And real close, this is 24 by 30. And if you look at it real close, you might see a little bit of movement in it. There might even be a little softness on the edges where, shooting 5.6 with a roll film camera. Can you imagine what it looked like with a 40 by 50? We put it on canvas, which helped, but it really was not technically, it's not anything I would enter. I would not enter that in competition. I don't think it would hang, but I didn't take it to hang. I took it to sell. I took it to meet a need of the client. So they are not as technically oriented as we are, and we do have real picky customers, and we have customers who have better equipment than we have. It's amazing some of the cameras that some of these doctors and lawyers and Indian chiefs have that they just play around with that some of us would just give our IT to own something like it. But at any rate, the fact of the matter is that I think we get there. This is the way we normally travel, and we even sign autographed photographs for $2 a piece. But when you ask why, and that's what we're going to do this morning. I'm going to try to answer 4 questions for you. Why do people have families made? When do they have them made? How do they have them made? Or how can we use them as wall decor? So we're going to try to, like I start out with why do people have photographs made? Why do they have their family made? You can think about it a little bit, and you can answer those questions, and the 2 words are up there. People have family groups made because they love their family, it's important to them, and they want to record that time in their life when all the family's together. This little family that I've done every year until last year was the first year in 15 years that I had not done this family's portrait at Christmas time. And not many clients do we do every year, but they have 24 by 30s all over their house of the different families we've done. I did these portraits when the 2 mothers, the girl in the red dress, the dark red and the blonde up there, both just had 1 baby. That's when we started doing them, and have done them every year. I told you earlier we normally don't split cities. This is an exception. We went down to South Texas just a year or so ago, and the guy said, Mom said, I want you to come down to the ranch and I want you to photograph my 2 daughters and the family, and they're both in college, they'll be home, and so we worked out a time, and we really did, this time, split the city. We did the whole 9 yards. We did the family, we did the man, we did the mother, we did the girls together. I would be embarrassed to tell you how much money they spent, but it was a bunch, but it's an exception. And also, it was another one of those like traveling over the Mississippi to do that thing. We started about 9 o'clock and stopped about 4 o'clock. They had a wonderful barbecue for us. I had the sister with me for this particular thing, and we all had barbecue that they had cooked the night before at lunch, and anyway, we just made a day of it. That's not the kind of thing you can normally do, and it's, like I said, it is the exception. We talk about clothing, and people have said, you need to wear colors that are subdued, colors that match, and colors that, I remember Joe Zelsman, I don't know how many of you remember Joe, but the classical portraiture look, the cherished look, where you wear dark clothing. I went to Oklahoma City and did this portrait. This guy is a trial attorney. I don't know how many of you know anything about lawyers, but I can tell you a lot about them. Because I have been so involved with lawyers the last 5 years, I mean, there is anything I don't know about lawyers, and I have spent more money on lawyers in the last 5 years than I made the first 10 years that I was in business. I mean, it is absolutely horrible, all the messes I've gotten into. But trial lawyers are a special breed. they're showmen. I went to Oklahoma City and, different places. My representative up there had set this appointment up, but the lady called and said, I really don't think we can do this portrait. I just don't think we have anything to wear. So I went over to see her. I said, let me come over and just visit and just look at what you're thinking about wearing and see what we have. So she had these clothes laying out, except she didn't have anything for her. So she had these, the dresses of the girls. She said, this is what I want to wear, but I'm just not sure. Well, I got to walking around looking at the house, and if you look at the painting, you can't, the colors are a little off color there, but they really pick up the color of these girls' dresses. In their den, they had a painter by the name of Ireland, who's some kind of famous painter, has a lot of notoriety around that area, and his colors are just vibrant. They had I guess maybe the formal clothes, and you can see that they just like bright colors. Now, it would not be natural for me to dress these people in solid navy blue dresses and dark suits. It's natural for them to wear these colors, and it goes with the house. And that's what's important. If you're going to use it for art and use it for decor, you've got to take into consideration where you're going to put it. We designed this portrait to go opposite that painting over the fireplace, the big one. We put it on the other wall in the den, which was just wood paneling. It's a beautiful wood. It was solid wood. They had a door at each end, and in the middle there was just blank. And so we put a 30 by 40 of this portrait on the other side. It didn't take away from their painting, which they paid probably tens of thousands of dollars for, but it did complement and pull the room together because they had the same colors on both sides. So let me ask you another question. How many of you have ever taken an interior design course? Not one of you? Nobody? I know that there is a local school here, college, right? And probably wherever you live, there's a community college or there's one within driving distance. I would suggest that you go home and your next educational experience be a basic course in interior design. And you say, well, why do I need interior design? Because it will teach you about color, it will teach you about things that go together, interior furniture. And some of you are saying, God, boy, you got to be kidding. I live in a town of 3,000, and I do blue-collar workers. The folks I do are truck drivers, farmers. They don't have interior designers. The fact of the matter is, today, people, it doesn't make any difference if you buy your drapes at Sears or if you buy them at Saks Fifth Avenue. They have interior designers on staff. Sears, JCPenney's, any kind of moderately priced department store have designers who will talk to you, even come out and show people how to put their drapes up. So they can in fact use those things. And you can use them. But I would suggest that you take a design course and learn something about the colors. Learn what colors go together. Learn what periods of furniture go together. And that will make you look like an expert. Talk to your clients about it. If you're going to do large portraits, you're going to have to become an expert, and you're going to have to sell these people on the idea that you know what will look good hanging on your wall. And it doesn't make any difference if you're doing seniors or if you're doing studio portraits. You're going to have to make things creative, and they're going to have to look good on the wall for people to put them up there and leave them for years and years and years. Is that to develop for each child? You know, every time a new child is born into a family or comes into a family, it changes the relationship. It doesn't change the relationship just between mom and the other children. It changes the relationship between the other children and the baby, the other children and each other, the other siblings, and it changes the relationship between a wife and a husband. My wife and I were married 11 years before we had children. And I mean, I thought, you know, I love kids, absolutely love them. Just never really cared if I had my own. But I promised my wife before she was 30 that we'd have a child. Well, we missed it by a year. We got married young. I was 20, she was 19. She had her first child when she was 31. But the fact of the matter is, we didn't really, after we put in for adoption, when children come home for Christmas or the holidays, to make sure that you photograph the grandparents, their children, and the grandchildren all together. And we suggest that they do this every 5 years and watch the growth of the family. Obviously, if you have one married daughter and one single daughter, and the married daughter has a couple of children, 4 years from now, 3 years from now, that portrait's going to be out of date because you probably have 4 grandchildren. So we suggest every 5 years, and we start a little program where we, like I say, the folks that we do, we try to keep in touch with so that we know in 5 years we want to do another portrait of them as the family has changed. This is an example of early times when relationship changes. This is a his and hers and ours. This is their baby, the mom and dad. That should be a sharp line. I don't know why I have a book across here. But the little boy that's over close to dad is actually her child. But again, his dad left early, and he had no real father figure, and he just absolutely loves his new dad, his stepdad. And it shows, but they have this new little girl. The rest of them are boys. It's just kind of a unique situation. They have since had another child, and we've done a new portrait of her. Same thing, multi-generation, a new grandchild. This is the reason for doing the portrait. When the children in these Middle Ages that we talked about is again the 7 to 12-year-old group. And then, of course, when the oldest one was senior in high school, actually this girl, the oldest girl there, was a senior in college. And so they were doing that particular portrait, but this guy is a senior in high school, and so is that young man. That brings us, you know when now we're going to try to photograph. We're going to try to get our clients to go along with us. Can any of you guess what this guy does for a living? I mean, he was late to the appointment. A lifeguard. Close. He's a doctor. You know, they always think that they put you in their little waiting room and make you wait for hours. But when you ever try to see, I mean, they're always behind. They're always late. So this mother, who is also a doctor, got these 3 little girls ready, got herself ready, and here comes this doctor who thinks he's too important. He's also a good friend, or he wouldn't let me do this. But he's late, and when he came in, I said, that's just like a doctor. You know, you make us wait, you're going to make us wait even when we're doing you a service. We're taking your picture, you're going to make us wait while you get ready. How did you do this to these little girls? You know, I give them a hard time about it. But we were in a little breakfast club together, and I used that slide to blackmail them more than once. But at any rate, you really should photograph them as naturally as possible. I personally feel that the best way to photograph them and get them most natural is in their own surroundings. That's why we like to do environmental portraits in people's homes. We like to go to their home or to grandmother's house. That's our number one choice. Okay? We like to, obviously you can tell this guy likes to hunt. He has a couple of boys that he's taken to Africa, and she photographs he hunts. The ideal place is in the home, around things that they like. The second choice is outside. And why outside is my second choice? Is because outside belongs to everybody. You can take somebody to a park and we all enjoy it. You can take them to somebody else's house and use their yard, because as you drive by, everybody gets to enjoy that. The other thing about the outside is it's continually changing. You can go to one place this year and go back next year. A few limbs are broken or trees down. The plantings are different, so things are always changing, and it's not like a fixed background that everybody has the same thing. So it's just a natural feeling when people be outside, and again, you can get them, in my opinion, relaxed and relating to each other. My final choice is the studio. Okay? Now, but if we have to have them come to the studio, then what can we do to make that portrait personal? And this is something that we encourage people to do, because we do a planning conference with everybody. And we have people bring their own things to the studio. And we will put it in our set, in front of a plain background, or in front of a little bookcase or whatever. But we ask them to bring things that mean something to them. We've had people bring quilts, lamps, Dad's favorite chair. They always bring books and toys and that sort of thing. But we try to talk to them to bring anything that we can use for a prop that belongs to them, that we can put in the photograph. Because the minute we put something that belongs to them, then it's their portrait. It's unique. They aren't going to see that same prop in everybody else's portrait. So I would suggest that you think about that. If you want to do creative wall decor portrait for families, that you start having them bring personal things to the studio so that you can use them. We like to photograph people doing what they do. Like I say, how many of you recognize this Roger Staubach, former Cowboy quarterback? This is his grandchild lifting that 50-pound weight there. This is son-in-law standing next to him, and then, of course, his daughter is standing on the right end, his wife standing next to him. They turned their garage into a workout gym. They have to park their cars outside at his house, but they all work out. The whole family works out. And I thought it'd be kind of fun to show them doing what they do. We also did just a standard thing, but it was fun to do one pool table. Somebody have a pool table. I tell you what was real big a few years ago that I must have done 25 portraits of in a year's time, was people working puzzles. I notice when I go to people's homes, that you look over here on the dining room table, and there'd be a half-worked puzzle. And it just was a big, they were performing it in a church. It was a very religious family, and they all play these different instruments, the piano, the drums, the trumpets, and so on and so forth. And so we included that. There's, like I say, another one did it, this guy loved this old Willie Jeep. This is a Willie Jeep from, I think, World War II vintage. And he has turned it into a hunting vehicle. So when we were down at the ranch, they got to talking about how much fun they had in this old Jeep. So we included that as part of the portrait. So those are the type of things that we can use. If we could if we could change slides right now. If I could have the lights for just a second also. Composition is the selection or arrangement of objects within a given space. It is using space effectively. We need to keep that in mind when we're putting photographs together, especially with families. There's some basic themes, some elements that we need to keep in mind. There are straight lines, there are curves, there are color, there are shape. You create mood of a photograph by the colors, by the placement of the figures, by the way they're looking, by the expression they have. So all of these things go into designing the portrait. and we all need to have some basic understanding. Composition is probably, in my opinion, the hardest thing to teach to photographers. Hard to teach to anybody, but using a rectangle space, which most photographs are, and putting things in that rectangle space that feel good and you enjoy looking at year after year after year, and is a real difficult thing. It's fun to look at these photographs today out here on the boards, and some of them are just absolutely gorgeous. Y'all do some wonderful work up here. The real interesting thing is to keep those around for 10 years and look at them again and see how you feel about them. It's fun for me to go back, and in fact it's embarrassing to go back and look sometimes at some of the things that I thought were wonderful 10 years ago. And on the other hand, I have some photographs that I have done that are 15 years old that could have been done today. One of my all-time favorites, and I don't have it with me, is a pilot in a B-52 in the cockpit. And that portrait, if you could see it today, could have been made yesterday. There's no way. It's really just timeless, and it has all the right elements. I'll show you a bride a little later this afternoon when we look at wall decor. That's the same way. That bride has been married and divorced for a long time, and yet it still looks like it could have just been made yesterday. But let's talk about composition and some of the things that go into making interesting photographs. Anytime you get a chance to go to a art museum or look at art books, you ought to do that. I made these next few slides for my own use a number of years ago, not ever thinking I would use them for teaching. I was just making them for me to learn. And they were made in the National Portrait Gallery in Washington, D.C. And I went through and I photographed families or groups of people that I thought had interesting compositions to them. And it's funny how, when you look at the flow of those things, how they kind of all relate together and how you feel the fluid motion going through them. Now, looking at these over a period of years and looking at art over a period of years, when you get out on an appointment, sometimes you manage to do the same thing with that same flowing feeling, not trying to copy the painting, but just from looking at how you move from one person to the other, and how a lead line, like Mom's arm, will lead you up to her, and the sunlight on the hair then will lead you up to Dad, and then the light blouse, the yellow blouse leads you back down to the girl, the white blouse pulls you back down to the middle. So those kind of things walk you through the portrait, and the more you look at it, you don't get tired of it. You look at it 2 years from now, 5 years from now, you still enjoy it. Same thing here. Relationship, movement, and kind of the same thing here. And these are just some slides that I pulled over the years, and I didn't look at this and think back about that painting that I'd seen to see how that was composed. It's just that when you look at them and you start thinking about these things, and you start seeing lines that do in fact tie together, and you can see how this diagonal line goes up, and the lead line again goes up to Mom and back down. Example of the same thing here. That's how artists painted families or groups years ago. They did it because it was enjoyable. It was something that you enjoyed time after time for looking at. Another example of this again of the little diagonal line. The closer you are to a group, the closer the group has to be. The relationship moves in a lot closer. And we'll talk about that in just a second. And again, it's kind of the same thing. One of the other things that really makes a difference, and the slide's a little far out, but if you could imagine, again, here's an example I did many years ago. And you can just putting people where they wanted to stand, kind of how I thought they looked good. But I want you to look and notice the difference between how this family arrangement flows or doesn't flow, and look at how this family flows. Same family, same group of kids, mom and dad. Like I say, this is old portrait, but look how it moves one to the other, as opposed to having people just standing in different places. No relationship. Doesn't pull together. This boy, well, obviously you can tell who the crown prince is in this family, right? He's the one with the halo over here. But notice how far away he is from the rest of the family, and how he's closer to the edge of the photograph than he is to anybody else. That pulls him away. Now, unless you're trying to make a statement of saying he's an isolationist and he's kind of pulling away from the family, and you're making that statement, then you should not have him in that position. You should have him relating to the other people. Same thing with a little guy way back in the dark clothes in the dark corner. How much more sense it would have made to put the guy with a light suit in the corner up there and the guy in the dark suit in the middle, so that you would your eye would go from one to the other instead of letting this guy get lost back there. Here again, example of just having families together. Actually, I didn't take this one, the photographer did, but I think he was photographing just a mom and child who really do kind of relate. And Dad walked up and said, "I want to be in it." Then two of the neighborhood kids kind of stuck in the side and said, "I want to be in it." And but you see how nothing really relates. Dad's too far away from mom, and the other two children are way away from each other, and they don't relate. Now, look at the difference in this, how everything flows. I've had photographers say, "Well, gee, I like the other one better." And that's okay. I'm not telling you what is better or what is best. I'm just trying to illustrate to you that if you want something to look like a unit, this looks like a unit of 5. It looks like a 6-pack, right? You can pick up a 6-pack, and you know there's 6 cans in that pack. If you see 6 cans out on the shelf, then they become 6 individuals. You back up and look at this other example, you see definite 2 individuals, maybe 3 counting Dad, and then a group of 2. So you don't have the same unity. It doesn't make any difference. Maybe this is a statement you want to make about a family, or maybe it's that you want them all to tie together. But if you want a family to look like a unit, then you need to make them a unit. And you do that through positioning and through clothing. And that's the other thing we'll illustrate a little bit when we start doing the demonstration. Obviously, this was years before we ever thought about telling people what they ought to wear and doing clothing consultations before we did the portrait. Same thing, just another example of unity, tying things together, how they move one to the other. Again, the same type thing. 1981, 10 years ago. And that's another thing. This is the rainbow effect. A nice little composition. And like I say, there's some little gaps, like the girl sitting down here, the girl sitting right in the middle might be raised up a little bit. But basically, the heads are equally spaced. That gives you the feeling of a unit of whatever, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 people. But when you look at it, you don't see 9 people. You see a group. You see a unit of 9. A unit of 4. The closer the camera is, the closer the relationship has to be. And that's why these heads are so close. They're still closer to each other than they are to the outer edge of the photograph. Same thing here. You've got 6 people, or do you have a unit of 6? In my opinion, you have a unit of 6. Now, if you had cut this off right above the dad's head, all of a sudden you would have started pulling that family apart. You'd start having 6 people standing up there. So this is how you create unity with clothing and relationship positioning. Real important that 2 things happen. One is I have a real family, because part of what I would like to demonstrate and show you and help you understand about doing family portraits is this relationship I was talking about. How you kind of read what's going on in a family's life. Also, because we do pre-planning conferences now, yesterday afternoon, I spent probably 30 minutes or 45 minutes with Lori talking about what to wear. And as you can see, just like every other client, she did a great job. But we did talk about it, and I also found out some neat things about the children, what they like, what they're into, and we'll incorporate some of that as we set this up and do the studies, and you'll see why I think it's important that we have a real family. These things would not work if I just took a child from one place and a mother from another and a dad. So that was one requirement I asked. When I got here yesterday afternoon, Steve comes to me and he says, "We've got a problem. We don't have a real family." Well, how about if we just pull da-da-da? And I said, wait a minute, I've got to have a family. So Lori and Rod found enough to be a real family for me. They're going to pretend like they're a real family anyway. But they really are. The second thing I asked for, I said, it's vital that I have this, and because I'm a firm believer in ecology, and it's my goal in life to see that we recycle the earth and use the product that we can. I wanted live plants. Now, I want live plants because, you can talk to them and they'll grow, and they're always changing. But I really enjoy working with live plants. Unfortunately, the plants they have here were live at one time. So I guess that fills it up. These are recycled live plants. And that's okay. Artificial plants today look so much better than they did 15 years ago when I started using plants so much in my photography that they're really not too bad now. But I would suggest to you that you ought to use live plants in your photographs. I carry live plants with me. I don't do as many appointments as I used to, but I help out in Dallas when they get overbooked. And before Christmas, I had, a couple, 3, 4 sittings every week, and I bought a couple of Boston ferns, just big hanging ferns, and put them in the back seat of my car. And I bought 2 little pots of yellow mums. I put them in the floorboard of my car, and I carry them with me on every sitting. And if they didn't have the right kind of plants, I just pull these things out. They lasted through the holidays, and now they're gone. Plant heaven. They'll be recycled into silk plants sometime. But at any rate, I like to use plants because it gives us definition. It gives us a focus. I like to think of doing families or doing photographs in dimensions. And we need something in the foreground, we need something in the middle, and we need something in the background. Our foreground becomes these plants. That makes us focus in on the family. So I'll show you how we use those. If I could have Rod and Lori and Katie and Jackie and Jacob and Jonathan. All the people. Okay. Yeah. I'd like to introduce these folks to you. This is this is Jacob. Is that right? No, this is Jacob. Okay, this is Jackie. This is Jackie. Well, who is this? Oh, you're Jacob. Okay, you're Jacob. And this must be Kate. Who is this? Oh, this is Jackie. Okay, this is Jackie. This is Jacob. Then this is Katie. Okay, Katie, Jackie, Jacob. That must be Mom. Okay. Dad, and that? Jonathan. Okay. Fun thing to do with kids is trying to get them to communicate with you. If they think you're a friend, they'll do anything for you. It's a fun thing to play the name game. And that's what I was just doing. This is Katie. This is Katie. But do you see how they're all laughing? They think I'm stupid. Sometimes I think I am stupid. But it breaks the ice. And I do this with families, and I tease and have fun. This is how we do it. Now, I'm going to set this little family up in just a little typical, easy, simple pose. And we are going to move the lights for the first one. I'll move them out of the way so you can see a little better. I'm just going to set the pose up. Then, I am going to have them go and put on the clothes that we talked about. But I want you to see how the pose looks when the clothes aren't right, and then see how the pose looks when the clothes are right. Like this, it's gonna, I'm not gonna do that, you know? And you've got a negative. So I'm gonna do something as simple as possible with Dad to start off. And by the time we get through, I hope to build enough rapport with him that if I ask him to lie on the table, he probably would. And because Rod's a photographer, he's going to be a whole lot easier. But normally, we don't deal with photographers, you know. We deal with real people. But if I could, Lori, I would start with you. Just kind of sit for me. If you would, sit over on me right here. Okay, don't. Oh, you got me. Don't sit flat down. Oh, it got me again. But sit over. Oh, yeah, that's okay. That's okay. Oh, boy, you really got me that time. Okay. Now, two things about Mom. You want her sitting over on one hip or the other. You don't want her sitting down flat. Wait, Jacob. Be careful. Don't fall down on my cord. The other thing is, when I sit down in the chair, and I always try to go into the pose that I ask somebody to go into, I figure if I can do it, they can do it. So, oh, you missed. What Jacob's doing, I play with Jacob this. He'll stand for me. What I was going to say about Lori, you don't want him to sit flat down, but when I sat down in this chair, I saw how low it was, and I knew she was going to have trouble sitting over on her hip. So I'm going to put some books under her to build this chair up. So that's a nice thing about working at home, if you would now. Mom, sit kind of the same way on that hip. Oh, careful. Sit on that hip. Got it? Okay. You don't want to hold the baby. Got it. Across your screen. Perfect. Wonderful. Okay. Yes. Okay, Papa. You come and stand for me right here. Oh, he's the Papa. Stand right here and stand with your weight on the right foot. Oh, you got me. Can you sit down for me right here? Oh, that's great. Okay. This time. I'm gonna get myself into this. Okay. You'll stand, keep your weight on the right foot, then your left knee, and you'll just sit your left hand. Just like you got it. Yeah. Okay, where's Mom? Oh, shit. Right. Okay, just like that. Turn from right foot. Okay, now.
Get your mics down.
Oh, boy, it runs a kid here, huh? Okay, what's up there? I want you to do something for me, okay? I want you to hold that down. Stand right there for me. Hold it, okay? Stay there until I count to 3. Whoa, boom. Okay, there it is in those clothes, okay? Everybody take a look at it. Now, we're going to let them go change clothes around. Jacob, you ready for this ball? You gotta stand right there. You sit back where you were. Are you there? Yeah. Okay, I gotta make sure you're there. Now, hold on, I gotta see one more thing. One more thing. One more thing. Yep, and then I'm gonna get the ball. That one more thing is we're gonna let Sis put on those books right there. You can do that just to raise her up a little bit. We're gonna approach this ankle, turn your knees away from the camera. Good. Okay. Are you ready? You gotta be right here holding on to Dad and Mom's shoulder. Back up, back up, back up, and hold on to Dad's arm right here. And then let me show you what this ball's gonna do. You ready? You okay? Okay, good. Okay, just like that. Great. Keep these right down. Keep this thing right on top of that. Good. Perfect. Detail. I should have changed it. Go back like she was just like this. This is not nice. Okay? I see so many photographs of families where the knees are right toward the camera and the legs are apart just like that. Not good. Rotate them away from the camera, and it's easy to say, if you'll just keep this knee right on top of that knee. Right there. Turn, and keep both feet out. Look how much nicer the line flows if you keep those knees out. Now, we have some books here. What would we do? We would put, we would probably put, let's do a little research here. We would probably take Fluffy. Who Fluffy is? Uh-oh. Mom lied to me. Okay. Try another one. You know who Snowball is? A cat. Okay. We take Snowball and put it right here. Jackie loves cats and tigers and gerbils and what else? Hamsters. She's got a hamster, a chinchilla, and a cat, right? She got all those things. You holding on right now? Okay, so we put one of those right here to cover these books a little bit. And we're going to let her sit in the book, sit really long. And now we're going to see if I can take this ball. And I'm going to football. Oh, look, here it goes. Oh, you guys stand up real tall for me. Don't lean on Dad, because here it goes. Watch this ball. What? Look. Would you move over to Dad a little bit closer? Just move. What? What? Lean back, Mom, that way. Okay. Whoa, right there. Ooh, I got it. Watch it. Oh, you're not looking at me. Say one. Say one. Jackie, say one. Say two. Fight my finger. Fight my finger. Ow! Hit my finger. Up. Bingo. Just like that. Okay. Not so hard, huh? Is he crying? No. Just remember, it doesn't make any difference where you start, it's where you finish that counts. And if they're all looking at us with one or two and smiling, we've got our insurance shot. Now, let's give the ball. Let's give Jacob the ball. This would be our insurance shot. This is how we would start. Now, let's assume that we've been talking and we're getting along pretty well. Go with me. Oh, nice throw. Can you hold it for me one minute? Don't throw it this time. I'll let you throw it when I count to 3 again, okay? But not right now. This is the insurance shot. We've kind of got Dad in a nice, easy position. He couldn't say no to anything. Now we're going to try to change it, get a little more feeling to it. We'd do one more like this. Then we would start introducing props, things that mean something to them. Books. We might have Mom read a book to them. Her tiger, which we have over here. Trucks, motorcycles, roller skates. All of those things, if they came to the studio, I would ask them to bring. We'll start trying to incorporate those into some of the poses. Okay. So if you'll stand up and walk around with me for a second, we'll just change things up a little bit. Everybody, take a break. Don't fall, Jacob. I'm leaning on drive. Okay? Here's a key point. Everybody listen. When you tell Mom to lean, tell her, don't put your elbow on Dad's leg. It'll hurt. use your forearm. Those ladies have a tendency to get in there and that elbow hurts. And she's getting even. But anyway, we're going to put the woman where she belongs, at the man's feet. Who said that? I didn't say that. That's just a joke. Yeah, just a second. Shannon, you can play with this guy for just a minute. It's always nice when you have a sitter around. Normally I don't have that luxury, so I just let him crawl and I kind of watch him. But since we're up on the stage, he could crawl off, so we'll let Shannon watch him. Oh, I'll show you. Look, watch this. Can you blow it off? Blow it. Oh, you blew it too quick. Okay, hold it for me. I'll show you something else. Okay, in just a second. Hold it for me one more time. Great. Wonderful, Mom. Turn your back toward Dad. Come here, Jacob. Jacob, come hold this ball right here. Sit down right there. Don't let it move. Sit down. Great. Turn your knees away from the camera. Jacob is so good. I may have another dinosaur. You want another dinosaur? I'll bring it to you in just a minute. Slide that knee down a little bit back. Okay. Start with Mom and Dad. Lean forward just a little bit. Distance between the head controls where everybody else goes. If we wanted to, we could just do a couple of the two of them. If we wanted to, we could move Mom and just do a portrait of Dad by himself. If we wanted to, we could move just Dad and do a portrait of Mom. So everybody should be in a position that would make a nice portrait of themselves with a little refinement. Okay. Great. Go sit down and hold it for me. One more thing, then I'm going to show you a trick with it, okay? Great. Boy, he's so good. Okay. So, now, what we need is my briefcase right down there. Steve, can you throw it to me? And I need Katie. No, I don't need Katie. Yeah, I do need Katie. I need Katie to come and sit right here. Okay, I gotta hide my case here. And you slide that leg back a little bit. Great. Okay. It's kind of soft a little bit, okay? Oh, that's beautiful. Look, you know what you do? Why don't you go find, let's see. Find me a turtle in that book. Sit in right there and find me a turtle. When you find it, tell me, okay? Okay, open it up. Okay, find me a turtle. You look for a turtle? Okay, did you find it? Not yet. Are you looking? You still looking? Okay, tell you what. Would you take this cracker?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh! One. Did you see that? Look. Here it comes. Here it comes. Oh, there you go. Okay, stand up tall for me. Quick. Jacob, hurry. Hurry. Hold your hand up there. Put your hand down this way. Hold your fingers up. Now hold it. Stand up real tall. Don't hold them down. Up tall, man. Here we go, everybody. 1, 2. Where's the cat? Here comes the kitty cat. Jacob. Jonathan. Where's Jonathan? Jacob, watch this. 1. Okay, where the camera can't quite see enough. Katie, step a little taller. Jacob, watch here. Katie, can you go over toward Mom a little bit? Whoa! Look! Whoa! Mom, turn this seat. Bingo. Is he crying? I don't care if I play your wife, okay. All right. On heavy ladies, you can cut 10 pounds off of a lady just by taking this hand and putting it in front, right there. Just cut that whole leg in half. And it makes a lot of difference. If you let her put this hand over here and you see that whole hip, you can put, oh, there, now. Okay, go around all up so I can count. Okay. So, you want to make sure that you use all the advantage you can. Mom, you want to put those up? Okay. Oh, they won't stand up? Okay, well, you know what? I want them to lie down like they're sleeping, okay? Right there, and I'll be there, okay? Good. Okay. Katie, if you'll come over like they have. You got it, Lane? Okay, I'm going to come to count them, okay? Okay, now, Jackie. Jackie. I want you to come, push that way back. I want you to come right here. You lie down on your side like you're watching TV. Lie down like you're watching TV. How do you watch TV? Perfect. Everybody knows how to watch TV, right? Let's move this leg over a little bit. Hold this leg back. Bingo. And roll your feet. Jacob. Sam. Okay. Want to make sure we don't have any trees growing out of their heads. So you got to check the background. Nice little fill. Now we have one left over, right? Guess where he is? Sleep. He's tired. He's through. He's over. So, I didn't realize some of you guys use the flash. Some of those things you're taking is the overexposed. But we want to make sure we have some light coming in on them. I'll take this light right here. And now, we're going to do two things here. We're going to do one with them looking at the camera. I get everybody to look. I get everybody happy. And then we're going to do one where we bring one of the books, the tooth book. And we're going to have Mom read to them. Let's do the other one first, okay? Okay, bring Mr. Goose. Okay, Jacob, stand right there for me because I got a prize in my pocket. I'm going to show it to you. You got to sit up real tall, okay? Don't move. Okay. I can okay. Hi. Look. Sit down. And turn his knees. Okay, that's it. Okay, bingo. Bye-bye. Oh. Woo! Okay, say everything. Oh, my God. And you breathe relaxing, I think. That lets me right there. Oh, I got it. Watch it. Bingo. Look at Katie, you're not laughing. Okay. Bingo, everybody's laughing. Jacob. Bingo. How much could you ask out of one penny, right? Now, hold on 1 second. Look. Mom, look. Mom, look. Okay, stay there, Jacob. I want to show you the prize. Here comes the prize. Sit down for me like you work. Sit on Mom's foot. I'm going to bring them over there. You sit on Mom's foot and I'm going to look. Okay, turn the face. Turn toward her. And bring that leg around this time. You come over. Oh, look. No, Jacob. Raise your head up, Katie. Jack, look at Mom. Raise your head up there. Head up there. Mom. Talk to him. There you go. Just find that. Okay. Shannon, if you'll watch these guys for 1 second, let me show just real quick. Mom and Dad, stand up here. I'll bring you another one in just a minute. I'll see if I can find some minutes. anytime you do a lady and a man, and this works for wedding candies as well as the camera, slide the other foot forward toward the camera. Nice and easy. Hand in your pocket. Okay. I'll let that hand hang down, put this hand in your pocket. Well, all the way in. Now, to make a lady look slimmer, this lady's slim anyway. And slide your foot forward. Good. We can make this lady look half the size by remembering to turn her toward him and back her up so she's behind him right there. Okay? That's all it takes, and that'll make a lot of difference in the sale sometimes, whether you have mom one step forward and turn, or if you have her one step back. Okay? And then you can add the family to this. But you see how much slimmer she looks? It doesn't make any difference how slim a lady is. She can never be too slim. Ladies like to be thin. And then we can add a daughter here, son there, so on and so forth, and do a standing pose. But just remember, that's a neat way to slim ladies down. Thank you very much. I think they did great.
If we can control the viewer's eye with the light, very simply, if we have a low key image, the person's eye, the viewer's eye, is going to go to the brightest part of that scene. And in a high key image, the viewer's eye is going to go to the darkest part of the scene. So let's take a peek at the high key right here. We have a gobo, I think, on my screen right here. Let's see. There he is. We got him now. But anyway, take a look at this photograph, and where does your eye go in that photograph? His face, right. His eye go to the face. But look at around even more. Does the eye go to the boutonniere at all? I think it does, because it's a dark part of the suit. What happens if we just remove the boutonniere, and now, does your eye more effectively go to the face now? I think it does, because we've removed kind of a distraction here. Let's go back to the other one. And again, notice the mask of his face, the mask of his face. I remember hearing that in 1980 or 79 from Leon Kenner. This part of the face, you think of the Greek masks of tragedy and comedy and so forth, those masks of the face. Notice that the mask of his face, I actually have some highlight illumination on let's call it the right-hand side. I'll refer to your perspective as we look at the screen. The right-hand side of his face has some highlight area on it. What I wanted to do was make the highlight area, or make his face the darkest part of the scene, and actually turn his face away from the illuminating sunlight into the shadow just a bit more, to actually make the mask of his face the darkest part of the whole scene. Now you might say, well, the cummerbund's kind of dark and so forth. Yeah, you're right, but still the black hair around his face is even darker than the cummerbund, so your eye tends to go right to his face here. The boutonniere isn't a distraction. If it was there before, your eye always wanted to go down to the boutonniere too, but now I can focus the viewer's eye, I think, fairly effectively just on the groom's face right here. Take a look at this photograph, and where does your eye go in this photograph here? This light area, or everybody says, the eyeball right over her head. If everyone's thinking of an eyeball, that'll be with you now for the whole rest of the program. But anyway, yeah, you could argue that it goes there, but another place that it goes very evidently is right here to the left-hand side of the screen, doesn't it? I was in this location, I'm trying to get some illumination on my bride. I'm thinking, how in the world can I do it? You know, my only natural light is the chandelier hanging above her head. How can I get the light coming in from the side here? So I used the flash, I kicked it in from the side, I had time to peel a Polaroid, I lit up this whole part of the ceiling part, wherever I happen to be here. I'm actually shooting up a spiral staircase. I'm on the first floor shooting up. She's on, I guess, the second floor area, third floor's up there. But I really don't like this white area. My eye always goes over to this white area over here. And I thought, how in the world am I going to handle this? And I thought, well, what are the chances of maybe just using that chandelier to illuminate my bride? And instead of putting her like in a short light kind of a situation, how about if I put her in a broad light kind of a situation? How about if I take a chance that this tungsten illumination can be balanced out, because I don't have any BPL with me here, that can be balanced out by the lab, And if I can use that light bulb, that chandelier, as my primary source of illumination, that means I won't have any flash coming in on this left-hand side right here, and I may somehow or another be able to focus viewers' attention on my subject just a bit more, and then in printing, print down the chandelier just a bit. So I decided to forget the flash that's coming in from the left-hand side here, just use the tungsten light, the chandelier, and came up with this photograph here. And now where does the viewer's eye go? It goes pretty effectively right to the bride, I think. Also, we're getting a nice gradual fall off. We have this little halo area right around the bride and gradually falling off around her. So it's kind of like, I don't know, you might equate to a backlight in the studio. You know, your background light in the studio. Also, let me say, this is a print around here someplace. We didn't even print down the balls there. But anyway, the lab, CPQ, did a pretty good job kind of balancing out all the color and everything, and actually got it on pretty good for me. I think I had some daylight coming in here too. Mixing with the tungsten gave me a little better color balance or something. But anyway, they did balance it out pretty effectively for me. But the point I wanted to make is that where's your eye go here, and where's your eye go here? And the eye obviously goes to the bright area before, and a little bit more directly to the bride in this photograph here. Also, let me make one more point too. All the images that you're seeing here via the cover views or transproofs or whatever name everybody's using these days, these are really just straight images. I mean, these aren't copies of retouched prints or anything else like that. I think I might have one or two out of the several hundred I'm going to show you today. It might be a copy of a print. Most of these are just send my film off to the lab and they send me the slides back, so there's no burning or dodging or artwork or anything on any of these images. These are straight raw images, I guess is what I'm telling you. To do that on a very simple, maybe a monochromatic background, if we have a little color there, you'll see this coming up a little bit later on, the eye go to the most colorful part of the scene. Another thing we can use color for is if we have a blue kind of a background and we have warm toned subjects on a cool background, the eye will again go to the warmest tone part of the subject. I'm going to ask, can we have that projector focused up just a bit, please? Never focus 5. And I guess I got the switch set on autofocus for those. That's good, thanks. But again, this blue background, and now the bride and groom, warm toned skin and so forth, and that bright red touch, your eye really goes right to them. So again, keep that in mind. There's a couple other images that I'll be showing you in the course of this morning that this really comes into play even more effectively than I think in this photograph here. Again, the background image, just orange and then no color in the foreground. You're still focused on their silhouette because of the absence of color on their silhouette. You know, just going right to them because of all the other color. Where does your eye go in this photograph? Right to the bride and groom. That happens to be the same photograph that's in the canvas hanging over there too. And this is the one I wanted to talk about. Against that blue background, you know, the warm tones of the blue background, your eye just goes right to the bride and groom. And the question that always comes up, and this is probably the most requested technical question of 1991, when I was showing this photograph around, was how did you get the sky so blue? Well, if I say sunset to you, what colors come to mind? Oranges and reds and yellows. We all know what a pretty sunset looks like. It's full of oranges and reds and yellows and so forth. Well, that's true. But if you hang in there long enough, and if you look at the photograph over there, and in the photograph right below it, and you'll see all the oranges and the reds and the yellows right in this area right here, but what is attached to the reds and the orange and the yellows right up here? Does that blue look sort of like that blue? Well, the sun's already set down in this photograph, and this stuff is right here. I mean, the blue is kind of coming in. Well, if you wait long enough, all the reds and the yellows and the oranges will also sink below the horizon, and then all this blue stuff will come in behind, and then before long, you've got all this blue behind the subjects instead of your normal sunset stuff. And the point is, you got to be out there pretty long after sunset to see this happen. But I've been a sunset watcher for a number of years right now, up to now. And I kind of, my gosh, it's like a movie for like 45 minutes. After the sun drops below the horizon, those clouds change, the colors change, everything changes. You know, in the course of like 45 minutes to an hour later. It takes about 45 minutes to an hour before you got the whole background being blue. Now, I know you guys are saying, synthesizer, you like wait for an hour after the sun sets and you're still taking pictures? Yes. Well, how long are your exposures running then? Oh, a minute maybe? Say a minute exposure, typically 30 seconds, maybe a minute. If I'm getting up to like 2 minutes or 3 minutes, I know it's pretty darn dark then. I know that when I can no longer see the equipment on the ground, that it's time to go home. and that's really it. When we get finished shooting, when I cannot see the equipment on the ground anymore, it's like, where is the camera bag? It's around here someplace. And that's when we pack it up and head it on. When I'm into like 3 minute exposures, and what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to get that one last photograph. 3 minutes. Don't move. Well, of course, it's kind of waving back and forth and everything, but anyway, if you wait about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, typical exposure for this, probably about 30 seconds, you can get that pretty blue behind now. And yeah, if you come up and say, well, don't they move when you're doing that? Well, if you come up and look at that photograph at parade, you'll see just a teeny bit of motion blur. That's a 30-30 print, but there's still not much. Why isn't there much that's really evident? Because I've got a backlight, and I'll talk about this a little bit later on, a backlight blasting them, rimming them out. So even if they move and they blur a little bit, the blur is going to be disguised by this rimming out effect of my background. Okay? And we talk also, because as you look at that photograph, you'll also see that there's some illumination on the front of them. This is one of these situations where back at Winona, back in '82 or whatever, Rocky Gunn's got this little bitty wing light he's kind of putting on all his photographs. I remember his photographs a couple on the rocks and over in Scotland and all this other stuff. And he's always got a little bit of illumination, and he's got like so much, just like this teeny little blink of light. I'm thinking, give me a break. You know, like what is that going to be doing here? This is like 1981, 1982. It's about 1987 that finally it dawned on me. this is literally what happened. In fact, it was a couple on the rocks, a couple right down here, that it dawned on me that, well, I don't want them to be silhouetted. I want to see just a little bit of detail in the bride's gown and maybe see a little bit of detail, maybe a teeny bit of color in their faces. But I can do that not by giving them a good plow of light. I don't want them properly exposed. I'd lose the effect of my silhouette. But I could put just a teeny little splash of light just to raise the level of illumination just a bit, mid-tone 18% gray. And as you go up to zone 6, it was lighter gray. Zone 7 is even lighter gray. Zone 8 is really kind of photographic white. If you go down the zone system, zone 4 is darker gray. Zone 3, very, very dark. And zone 2 is actually photographic black. By the way, Minor White came along and said, Angela, you got 10 zones, but why don't we go ahead and pick 9 zones? That way we have zone 5 in the middle, and we can have 4 in the top and 4 in the bottom, and zone 5 will be in the middle. So actually, I'm using the Minor White variation of Angela Adams' zone system, because I only use the 9 zones. But anyway, let's go back now again. That means that if I want to render a certain tonality in a photograph, I can decide which part of the zone, or which zone that tonality is going to be rendered in. Bear with me. I know it's early in the morning. There was a big party last night. But I can decide which zone that tonality is going to be rendered in. Their faces, typically, if they were properly exposed, would be rendered in what zone? Probably around zone 6, maybe zone 7, depending on complexions and so forth, if they were properly exposed. But I don't want them to be properly exposed. I actually want them to be not black. I don't want them to be silhouette zone 2 black. I just want a little bit of detail there. So I might want zone 3 on my subjects. So if I want zone 3, but a proper exposure, we put them in zone 6, that tells me how many stops less exposure do I need to put on my subjects in my properly exposed scene to put them in the tonal value, to give them the tonal value that I want. 3 stops away. I have to underexpose them 3 stops. Well, all of a sudden, you don't need 400 watt seconds of light to underexpose somebody 3 stops. You need to be 20 feet away and just blink in a little winky-dinky Morris flash unit or something or another. And that will give you at least a rendering of some kind of detail, some kind of color in the camera side of the subject, of the silhouette. So I'm just giving, I think, a whole bunch of information right here because it took me a while to kind of figure this out. I found that what is the proper exposure on the camera side of the subject? One image that I've got around the room here has them about 1 stop less. I'll talk about that. I think that's a little bit too bright. 2 stops less isn't quite enough. I find that 3 stops, if my taking aperture is like f8 of my subject, if I can get f2.8, I'm sorry, if f8 is the taking aperture of my whole scene, if I'm doing one of these silhouette kinds of things, if I can get f2.8 light on my subjects via another portable flash or something or another, that'll give me a little bit of detail in the camera side of my subject to really make that, quote, silhouette, non-silhouette, really come alive. And even under the print judging lights, all of a sudden it's not a silhouette, it's like, man, there's something there. The other kind of neat thing that happened with that bride and groom on that rock right there was that there was a lot of wetness happened to be right there too. The rock was still kind of damp and so forth. So this little light is kind of blinking off, and not only am I getting diffuse illumination, the diffuse return of light, from skin tones and so forth, but I'm also getting a little bit of specular return in the shadows. And if you look closely at the image, you'll see little kind of twinklings of the glistening on the rock on the camera side of the subject, which is just another way to enhance the detail in the shadow areas on the camera side of my image here. So anyway, what's a good amount of light to put on the subject if you're trying to do something like this? About 3 stops less. How do I do it? I got a little itty bitty flash in my camera bag. It's got a little electric eye attached to it. I think it's a Wine SB200 or something or another. I always forget what numbers it has on it. But it just blinks just a little bit of light in there. I find out that my METS units are almost too powerful. They're going to go, that detailed part of the photograph. The sharpest focused part of the photograph. And if I want the eye to stay with my subject here in the foreground, I'm going to choose an aperture that's going to throw the background slightly out of focus. It gives it compositional balance and so forth, but still I don't want the eye to be hanging out back here at all this sharp detail stuff. I want the eye to be hanging out right at the subject. So I'm aware of my f-stops. You'll hear me many times when I use a 50 millimeter lens, I use what I call my f-stop of convenience, which is f5.6 when I'm using a 50 millimeter lens and doing some of these wide angle kinds of things. F5.6 works for me because I'm generally fairly close to the subject, the background's generally far away, and at f5.6 I can reduce the amount of detail, focus, sharpness in the background at this 5.6 aperture. It's an aperture of convenience also because my auxiliary flashes that I'm bringing into the scene too, at the working distance of my flash to the subject, 5.6 happens to be the aperture that I need anyway. So I get the benefit of softening the background detail just a bit and also getting a convenient aperture to work with my off-camera flash and so forth. Let's talk a little bit about equipment as we're moving through here. Just about all the images that you see around the room and just about all the images that you're going to see here today. I use a Hasselblad camera. I've been using a Hasselblad for about 12 years. I generally work with a 40, 50, 80, 150 millimeter lens. We'll be talking about some of these wide angle images, and people say, I got a 40 on these. Yeah, I do. I would say 85% of the time, though, I'm working with a 50. It's only that 15% of the time that I throw the 40 in to get a couple of these images. So I'm suggesting that you don't run out and buy a 40, because a 50 millimeter wide angle optic works pretty effectively too.
David?
Yes.
We're at break time, so whenever it's convenient.
What have we done here to kind of reduce some of the detail? Well, I've used the vignetter. The vignetter just kind of diffuses out all the detail at the bottom of this photograph. This was done kind of in March in the suburb. There's no leaves on the bushes and so forth, so they're kind of trying to draw the viewer's attention to that detailed part of the leafless bush. She's also standing on a brick wall that I never want anybody to even notice. So I just used the frosted vignetter just to kind of eliminate a lot of that detail. So your eyes basically just went up to the sharply focused bride up there. I think with this photo, this is next to an 8-lane highway. The bride's standing in a ditch next to an 8-lane highway. It's my outdoor studio back in Edgewood, Kentucky. So anyway, the sun was kind of coming in from behind. We had some open sky coming in, illuminating your face. This is taken at f4 with a 150 millimeter lens, and I'm picking up the background, really throwing it way, way out of focus so the viewer's attention really goes right to her. If I wanted to blend her more into the background, I could put more diffusion over the whole lens, and then watch what happens as I diffuse the whole lens even more. See how she sort of even blends into the background? If you want the effect, it's fine. I don't know if I do or not. I kind of did it both ways. I would say my preference is probably this one right here. This, by the way, I have to tell a little story. I did 4 seniors last year. I remember booking, I think she was my first senior I did last year. And I remember I booked my senior, I called up my friend Mark Garber, good photographer, about Mark, I just put my first senior. He said, my gosh, you're going to seniors now too? I said, I don't know, I put my first one. So I was all excited and everything. About a week later, I get another call from another senior. So I got two seniors. I called Mark up. I said, Mark, I just put my second senior. I've doubled my senior business. So I'm hitting the circuit talking about seniors. But anyway, I ended up going to 4 seniors, and a lot of these seniors have been some of the bar and bat mitzvah children when they were 13. Now I'm starting to do, some of the high school things. That's kind of how they come about. But it's kind of fun. Just kind of a different kind of a thing. Anyway, why don't we stop right here and take...
I'm not making a commercial announcement per se, because we don't want to do that, but I'm going to do it anyway. David does have some tapes for anyone interested. I'm only going to say it once. He will not say it, as he should not say it, but I will say it. So anyone that wants to talk to him about anything, talk to him personally during break or noon hour, something like that. At this time, I would like to, for just a minute now, we're going to break at noon or probably...
Also have, if you look, the spindles all pointing to the bride and the groom too. So everywhere that you're looking in that photograph, wherever the eye starts in that photograph, everything is saying, look down at the bride and the groom. I also knew that I had to make the bride and groom kind of pop out from that dark background. Remember I was talking about light cover detail? I put a luminine, just bare ball behind them, just to light up that part of the carpet to help spotlight them one more time, have the viewer's eye go right to them in that photograph too. There's some other lights just kind of scattered around too, just kind of giving even illumination all around the staircase there too. This is my first loan collection print back in 1980 or something or another. This is where I used to have my studio. That condominium I told you I bought, this is across the street from where it was, as a matter of fact. That's all houses there. That place doesn't even exist anymore. But the leading line is just that line from the sky going right into them. Everything, just kind of, even the clouds kind of kicking it back around to them. And then I have the sun, which is right above the horizon, which is, again, drawing the eye to the vicinity of my subject right here, so that we go one more time to the bride and the groom. Anybody see leading lines in this photograph? Once again, he's on the steps, and we're just pushing all the lines just right on into him. This is probably a 40-millimeter lens right here. Also, as you look at this photograph, I'm going to be talking about the positioning of the subject relative to the vanishing point. Now, in this photograph, the subject is obviously at the vanishing point. We have 3 positions we can place the subject relative to the vanishing point. Number 1, at the vanishing point, like back up where all the lines are pointing to. We can have our subject opposite the vanishing point, and I'll show you some photographs coming up a little bit later on where we actually position the subject opposite the vanishing point. Kind of a more contemporary kind of a feel and composition. And we can also position our subjects anywhere in front of the vanishing point too. And I'll identify those photographs. In fact, this one right here is in front of the vanishing point. I can show you on the camera. In front of the vanishing point, there's one opposite the vanishing point, the groom on the brick wall. Okay? We'll address that. I'll talk about that a little bit more as we go on. But anyway, the lines are leading and converging right to the subjects. I'll also mention too, notice there's a little bit of light behind the bride or behind the groom there. I'll talk about that too a little bit later on. Because I actually have an auxiliary flash. The luminine is actually hitting that dark back wall. Again, because I want the groom to pop out from that background. I want him separated from the background. Think about 100 watt seconds. I'll talk about that as we get into background modifications. Shape in the photograph. What do I mean by shape? What I mean by circles, ovals, triangles, rectangles, trapezoids, whatever it happens to be. This photograph has several repeating shapes in it. We have the large rectangle around the bride. We have these small skinny rectangles, white rectangles and gray rectangles. So I have all these rectangular shapes repeating throughout the whole composition. And what's interesting is these sharp-edged rectangles are contrasting with, and I'll talk about contrast in a bit, are contrasting with the smooth S-curves that we see in the figure of the bride right here. So 2 kinds of, we got the shapes right here, we have the rectangular shapes, and we have the S-line working in this composition too. And that's what's making this photograph, I think, kind of come together. We have again, just an S, actually an S line, an S shape happening right here. As I look at this photograph, I don't think this is by any means a lone collection or even a merit print or anything like that, but it does demonstrate that if I'm in a contrasting lighting situation, fairly high sun, background's kind of contrasty, I always put the sun behind my subject so it kind of rims out my subject just a bit, and then I worry about how I'm going to get light on my subject and create the lighting pattern on the subject space that I want. I'm generally looking for a loop lighting pattern on my subject space. We'll talk about that after lunch. We'll talk about lighting patterns and using the face and so forth. I'll create the lighting on the front of the subject space by one of two means. Number one will be reflector. I can even sometimes just grab the sun rays and just pop them right back into the bride's face. Don't do that nearly as often as using a remote flash, just taking my Lumidyne on a radio, by the way, and just having it just pop in from an off-camera position. I hardly ever, I'm trying to think of when I ever do, but I hardly ever use an on-camera, what I call an on-camera flash only. I always am looking for a direction of light. I'm always trying to model the facial features. I'm always trying to create a shadow next to a highlight to create detail, depth, and dimension. So my primary illumination is generally my Lumidyne, which is held off camera and running around. My assistant generally holds it off camera someplace and puts it where I need it to be. We'll talk a little bit about that positioning too a little bit later on. Shapes here, we have the S curve, and we have all these other rectangular shapes, kind of big rectangular shapes from the windows, and then the small ones too, just of the little shutter kind of design and so forth. I like the shape of the ceiling right here, kind of kicking around, and as everything kicks out and then comes back in here, leading right to the subject, and then the line from the pews is also just leading right up to the bride and the groom right here too. And we have a triangular shape, pyramid kind of a shape, and how I pose them together just a little bit too. This is one of my favorite photographs on a canvas. I think over here as a matter of fact. But I remember I was like on my back and the camera's all contorted and everything else to kind of get this thing to happen. But what really attracted me were the shapes of these kind of diamond shapes in the ceiling, and kind of like them, and I like the line I was getting from the banister, and I tried to get the groom in some kind of a triangle kind of a shape and so forth. But when you look right at the center of the image, it's a profile view of my groom, blue lighting pattern on his face. I also like the way light's being used here. Notice that the illuminated part of his face, the highlight area of his face, happens to be against the darker area of the wall, where the darker area of his head and so forth is against the lighter area of the wall. So I got kind of a light to dark on his face, but I got a dark to light happening in the background. And I think that's kind of intriguing. So that's what I like about that photograph. And the way we see form here is a graduation of tone from the lights to the grays, from the lights to the grays, lights to the gray. And we know it has we know that it's round because of this graduation of tone. And, although nothing is saying that they're standing in front of three pillars, they were. And I love this. This was judged in Ohio a couple of years ago, and one of the judges came up and said, "You can see the artwork on his jacket right there. I can see where you just brought that pencil right in there." I said, "No, I didn't. That's not on his jacket." "Well, how come it's not up on his head?" "Because I have a translucent panel blocking that part of his face." "Well, I still think it's heavily retouched." I got a proof it looks just like this. Anyway, it did real well in competition. I always kid around and say I photographed Paul McCartney's wedding because of how that guy looks here. But anyway, what I like about it, I like the split lighting on him, loop lighting on her face, kind of a contemporary feel. They're not dominating the whole composition. They're actually in the bottom quarter of the composition. But what I really liked about the whole feeling of this setting was the shape, the form, if you will, that I had of the pillars. And I just chose a camera position that overlapped one pillar with the next to the next, so you couldn't see any greenery or anything else through the pillar. It gave me a high-key, shape-full kind of a background to pose my bride and groom against. I like this one a lot, too. This is a photograph taken last year, as a matter of fact. And I love, I don't know if it says right here, it scored 100 at my regional about 4 years ago, as a matter of fact. It's really funny, you know. The judge is looking at all these low key. All of a sudden, this one flips around and says, "Oh my gosh, what is that?" Because the finished image, you couldn't hardly, it was not quite, a little bit more faint than that, but it just, really came across very impacting after a bunch of low keyers. And you'll see the canvas is actually printed in reverse. This is how it was actually printed for competition. It actually got printed, and that's how it was taken, and this is how it was printed over here. And for pre-competition, I'm not opposed to flipping negatives and so forth to improve composition. I think that's legal in print, when we're doing print competition or whatever. Anyway, what I'm seeing here is overall whiteness. The only color that you have is on the subjects, so your eye goes to the colorful part of the scene. Color in this whole photograph here, the warm colors, I've already moved kind of into the warm colors. You know, the photograph has appeal because of this overall warmth that it has. This photograph is somewhere in there, I think over there. This is one of the outtakes that turned out to be one we did for them and got answers and everything. Again, this is an outtake of another one. I think it's hanging around here too. Working here, I just like all the overall blue tone of this whole scene. So in one, I'm using warm tones, and in the other, I'm using blue tones on everything. So I'm looking for these overall colors, kind of this, where the bulk of the image area is like one color, and then playing around with the subject within. We have detailed trees behind the bride and groom, and the trees are detailed, the bride and groom are detailed. They kind of blend together. Well, when can detail maybe even help us, and maybe help differentiate the subject in the whole overall composition? It's when the detail gets so fine and so teeny tiny that it no longer becomes detail, it becomes texture. And again, let's get that sharpened up. I think it'll make the point a bit more. Here we have all these thistles in the ditch right here. And they're so fine, I mean, they're very, very small. They are detailed. They're all in focus. As you look all the way through there, everything's in focus except some of the ones here in the foreground. But as you look at all these, it's such small detail that there isn't any large detail in the scene. There's not a tree trunk there that's sharply defined or anything like that. It's small detail, and whenever we put the subjects against all this small detail, just the fact that the subject is like a hunk of something bigger, they pop out from the small detail, and we're going to call the small detail texture. Does that make sense? Here's another one. Just the detail of the background right here, you know, the sitting in the field or whatever. But the bride, again, popping out, she's still as detailed as the rest of the scene. But anyway, detail or texture is just super duper fine detail, but it's a whole bunch of it throughout the whole overall composition of the whole scene. And then when we contrast teeny tiny detail that's called texture against a large, sharply focused compositional element that's called bride and groom, that contrast makes the viewer's eye go to the bride and groom, and it also gives interest and impact to the whole overall scene. Okay? So I guess what I'm trying to do here is take back what I said verse 2. Contrast of shape, contrast of line, contrast of texture, contrast of color. This photograph happens to have all those contrasts in it that I've just mentioned. We have a contrast of texture. Here's a smooth texture of the glass, rough texture of the concrete. We have the contrast of line, from curved line to straight line. We have contrast of shapes, from curved shapes to rectangular shapes. We have contrast of color, from the blue kind of a background to the warm tone of the skin right here. We got a whole bunch of different contrasts happening here. That's what appealed to me when I put the photograph together, were these different contrasts. So I kind of liked it. What are the contrasts in this photograph here? Well, we have the contrast of the rectangular shapes, the large rectangular shapes of the windows there, the smaller rectangular shapes of just the shutters themselves, those little things that go up and down. And we have, now those are all rectangular shapes. What are they contrasting with? They're contrasting with all these oval shapes of the chairs that I literally moved into position when I was taking this photograph. I think I had to kick the one in the bottom left-hand corner. I had to kick it in there just a bit to kind of give me this leading in to the bride and the groom. And then we have the soft S-curve of the bride's figure in the middle of all these rectangles and so forth in the background, too. So I'm looking for these contrasts when I'm putting together my images. Contrast of density, I guess, if you want to call it that. That's what a silhouette is. It's a dark something in front of a bright something. It happens to be a silhouette of a bride and groom in front of a bright colored church here, but it's still a contrast of color, if you will. Contrast of light density, if you will. Take a look at this photograph here. There's a canvas that's somewhere around the room here. And you look at that and you say, Well, it's kind of contrast. I got the bride in a white gown against this dark building. But maybe I could contrast her just a bit more. Maybe if I put a little background light back there. Go fire up the old Lumadine, take it about 20 feet behind her, kind of hit in between the pillars is where my assistant is, aiming at the back part of the wall, and we can get that to happen. And I like that one a bunch. I think the print actually shows up a little better in the slide. Bride and groom together. But again, now I'm contrasting the tonalities, if you will, of this whole scene. Also I have a contrast of color, you'll notice. And portrait photography, and again, this is for a wedding program, but I think it applies across the board here. You know, grain techniques, black and white diffusion techniques. Let's talk about grainy techniques. We've been experimenting around with shooting a Kodak 1600 gold and the 35 millimeter camera just with the available light, just the tungsten light, the modeling light of the halo or whatever when I'm shooting a wedding. And looking for kind of these grainy kinds of images for our brides and grooms. Again, it's just a little bit it's just a little different. This photograph and that photograph over there on the canvas, that's from a 35 millimeter negative over there. Again, it's just a little bit different. And you remember my first title slide, the difference making a difference. You know, people are responding to these kinds of images when we're making our presentation to them. We'll talk about that later on. Then we include a couple of these kinds of images in our photography. Black and white, I don't know how it is for you guys, but black and white is definitely starting to come back in these days. Are y'all experiencing maybe a few more requests than you used to for black and white photography? I mean, I am. I just had a request from a girl just the other day we were interviewing about some black and white images and so forth. This couple, well, he and his wife, we did a special black and white section in their whole wedding album for them. I shot it with the T-Max 100 film, just interchanged it with the VPS when I was shooting, and got some pretty neat images of both of them. And just the range of tone and everything else was really exciting for me to see, too. Again, it's something just a little bit different. Yes?
You say you do a whole section on it. What are the kind of things that you're doing when you're putting in black and white?
Under diffused, over diffused, or whatever. I'll just tell you what I use. We were talking a little bit about equipment going along here. I'm using a Hasselblad with a 150 millimeter lens, a 80 millimeter lens, a 50 or 40 millimeter lens. That's my camera of choice. For my diffusion, this is a typical sizer portrait kind of a thing. I'm using the Calpro Vignetta, which I've been using for a long, long time. I guess 12 years now, more than 13 years. Has its own, I mean, they advertise in the back of PTA magazine about every 2 months or whatever. That's my vignette of choice. For diffusers, for diffusing lenses, if you will, I use a Tiffin SoftNet 3B filter, which I've been using a long, long time. Used to use a little black net material behind my camera lens. I lost it, so now I'm using the Tiffin SoftNet in front of the camera lens. It comes in several shades. I've only used the black one. The 3B gets me just the right softening that I like. And then I also use their it's about a year and a half old, their FX filter too, FX1 filter. So you're saying, how much junk are you putting on front of this camera lens to take these photographs? SoftNet 3B and an FX1. Now why would I use both of them? We all know that our camera lenses that we're using are pretty darn sharp camera lenses. And I'll tell you, the 150 millimeter lens on the Hasselblad, I've got some before diffusion or before vignetting with diffusions and then after. And the thing is X50 millimeter lens. I would say in the course of shooting a wedding, a 50 millimeter lens probably accounts for, I'm thinking off the top of my head, 75% of the images that I create for my clients is probably with a wide angle lens. I don't think because I shoot so heavily in the candid department, and that's always with a wide, I shouldn't say always, but most of the time with a wide angle lens. But anyway, I like the wide angle optic. A 50 millimeter lens of mine is always on my camera. The wide angle optics, what happens? You create these leading lines leading right down to the subject and so forth. You create the directional pointers, as I call them, are accentuated with the wide angle optics. This is at our local synagogue in Cincinnati, called Wise Temple. Cincinnati has this is an interesting piece of Cincinnati trivia. Cincinnati is the birthplace of Reform Judaism for the United States. I mean, it started now. I didn't know that until about 4 or 5 years ago. We had the rabbinical center there and all this other business and everything. So that's kind of where it started. And this is from a bar mitzvah shoot, what I call a temple pictorial. This is actually taken Thursday before Saturday's big affair, before his bar mitzvah. I was doing this for my wedding photography, which I'll talk about a little bit later on. But I tell you, a 13-year-old boy is a lot less patient than a 26-year-old groom. And I was finding trying to take all these photographs on Saturday was driving me crazy, driving him crazy, driving mom and dad crazy, driving the rabbi crazy. So I said, well, heck, I'll just come down Thursday when you have your rehearsal and everything, maybe take a couple photographs. That'll be fine. I'm just standing in the same suit and tie as going to be in Saturday. And I literally got an extra 45 minutes to do these kinds of images for my client, my young client, and his mom and dad, that I otherwise wouldn't have had I waited to the big day Saturday. What happened was I was producing bar mitzvah images that no other photographer happened to be doing in Cincinnati because they were trying to shoehorn all these images in on Saturday. And all of a sudden, people were calling me up because of these extra things I happened to be doing, which is why the bar mitzvahs represent about 20 to 25% of my business from year to year, depending on who's being bar mitzvahs and so forth from year to year. But anyway, it's just, again, something a little bit different. You know, I don't have to do these on Saturday. We photographers many times are into this tunnel kind of a bit with, you know, graphic elements. I like the lines coming out, leading to and framing my subject right here. The situation, again, where the subject is opposite the vanishing point. The vanishing point is obviously to the right-hand side of the image. The subject is opposite that. The illumination on his face is just a panel just kind of kicking right back into his face, just a reflecting panel, setting aperture and shutter speed to get the correct exposure on his face, letting the kick light, if you will, just kind of really overexpose itself. But what's it do for me? It creates a mask of the face that clearly defines a mask of the face of my subject. So I don't mind that being that hot at all. This little soft light is just very, very soft daylight coming through this kind of drive-through tunnel area that's building. It really overexposes on the brick wall. That kind of gets really bright too. Just kind of a neat kind of a combination of things for me. Again, I kind of like the way it all went together. Graphic elements again, just a triangular shape with a pyramid shape with a bride and groom right here. I've said a lot of times that we photographers many times will get into a rut kind of a way of thinking. You know, we walk up to the front of the church and we think we have to photograph the bride and groom in front of the church all the time. Yep, got to stand right there in front. That's how photographers have been doing it for about 30 years or 50 years or 100 years. Oh, Louie, why do we have to take them in front of the church? What happens if I look a different way? Wow, look at the stained glass window. And all of a sudden, I've got a whole video. Just a small little addition out there. Now, this was a gorgeous hotel down in Richmond, Virginia. He was a friend of a client I did a couple years before. And he said, will you come to Richmond, Virginia? I said, sure. This was the scariest moment of my life. I got to the airport. The flight was canceled in the morning. I eventually got there about a half an hour after we were due to start photography, still 2 hours or whatever before the ceremony was due to start. But anyway, a gorgeous, gorgeous hotel. Beautiful, beautiful historic hotel in Richmond, Virginia. And why am I liking wide-angle lenses? Because I can take all this stuff in, back up. I'm literally at the other end of the building with a 40-millimeter lens taking this photograph of the bride and groom. The bride and groom are pretty far away. I want to get a little attention to them, so my backlighting draws viewer attention to them just a bit. I think a half a second or 1 second, probably at f5.6, something like that. We had a couple people sitting over here, a couple hotel guests that were gracious enough to leave the photograph for me. But again, because I'm shooting this whole place, we had other people kind of wandering around in here too that I had to be careful of. Well, there's actually somebody on the steps right here, but he's kind of moving around in a 1 second exposure. He kind of blends in, and we're able to use a little Kodak liquid retouching dyes to kind of disguise him a little bit more. There's a lady up here you can't really see too much. You actually see this couple here pretty much, because they were just standing there for the 1 second exposure. What are you going to do? I couldn't keep chasing people all afternoon. I wasn't going to do that. I just took the photograph. What we did, though, is you can always disguise them and retouch them. We just kind of planted a couple leaves all the way around them. That's what we did with this couple down here. Too early for that kind of joke, right? I didn't even care that they were in the photograph, and the client, the bride and groom. This graphic element shooting directly up into a dome of this Greek Orthodox church, one of the prettiest churches I think I've ever photographed, about an hour north of me. Centering a chandelier and the mural of Christ right here, and just using the graphics of this whole circle. It has color contrast. Notice a blue stained glass window against the red and so forth. This was a 10 by 10 photograph in the bride and groom's album that introduced the wedding ceremony in their coverage. Graphic elements here. I think I just got a projector jam. Just the empty space right here. People say that's why you don't do kid sizes, because you can't hardly get in the picture frame. One of my favorite clients is the mother of this little girl who we've been doing work for now for about 6 years. She makes a real good order every Christmas. And this is one of her favorite photographs of her daughter, because it captures the playfulness of her daughter. I was literally kind of playing peek with her. She peeked out a little bit too far. One time, gave me a real expression. Quick, I had the photograph, and we cropped it down a little bit for 1620 because the client loved it. Again, not a typical children's kind of a photograph. And with one jam projector that'll unjam shortly here, why don't we go ahead and break for lunch? They were a nice looking couple. You'll see them shortly. But anyway, just backing up, I like the stained glass windows. I like the line of the pews and kind of this contemporary kind of a church and so forth. But what happens if you speed up the shutter? Well, you can reduce some of the detail. Now again, you might be thinking, I like the other one better. I probably do like the other one better too. But this is kind of what happens if the stained glass window loses a lot of intensity here, and you go even more to the bride and groom. So that's what happens if, in this situation, you have to make your own call which one you like the best. Well, what happens if you're in a different situation? Somebody, just real quick, if you don't know, somebody tell me what you think the shutter speed f-stop combination was in this photograph. 5 seconds. 2 seconds? 125th? Anybody else? See, now, what kind of day is it? Well, that's a good question. How about 10 afternoon? 10 minutes after 12. The meter reading inside this building, when I took an incident like meter reading with VPS film, was a 60th of a second at f8. Okay? A 60th at f8. Well, I'm looking at this building that I'm seeing it at about a zone 6 tonality. Fairly light-colored brick and stuff all the way around it. Well, my subjects are also a zone 6 tonality too. Well, I'm up on the 4th floor. They're down on the 2nd floor, and I can't even see them through my wide-angle lens. Where are you guys? But I know that I can focus viewers' attention on them just a little bit more if somehow or another I can put maybe a light behind them. So I got 200 watt seconds on the floor behind them to give me that burst of light behind them. And then I decide, well, I want to put a little light on them because I don't want to silhouette them. I want to have a little bit of light on them. I have my assistant hanging behind this pillar right here, hanging to hold on to a little bit of car with an electric eye on it. The one behind him required by radio. But he's on with a little electric eye on it, and it's dialed in at about f5, 6. I wish I would have dialed it in about f4 if I could, but I didn't know my rule about 2 to 3 stops underexposed when I took this picture. So that happened a year later. But anyway, we had him just popping a little bit of light on the couple. Well, still, my couple is still like a zone 6 tonality. They're here. The building is like a zone 6. I'm on the 4th floor. I can't find them on the 2nd floor and all this detail. How in the world can I make them really pop out from this location? Well, how about if I say, I don't want my building in zone 6, but I want the building, say, in zone 3 instead. I can do that. They're what I call aperture controlled because their exposure is solely determined by the amount of flash falling on them. And the only way I can control exposure with flash is with aperture. So they're in an aperture control situation. Shutter speed is completely independent of my exposure to them for all intents and purposes. But the building is completely independent of my flash, so it's shutter speed controlled. So now I can use a shutter speed that can literally change the tonal value of this building to whatever I want it to be. I chose to have my building in about a zone 3. So if I'm at a 60th at f8, you guys can now figure out what the f-stop was. 125th, I got to shift 3 stops. 125th, 250th, 500th of a second. 120 or 500th of a second at f8 is what this picture was taken at. And that's how it came about. I have a Polaroid that looks exactly like that. I'm like, oh, wow, that's neat. It's one of those kinds of Polaroid. I think this is on the wall someplace. This is actually my favorite picture I've ever taken in my life so far. Just the lines and everything. I got taken from Judge Store too. At the Indiana Convention. This print comes up and, it definitely had impact and everything else. And one of the judges said, it'd be a good picture if you'd chop off those 3 arches at the top. Well, luckily I did not take his advice, and it did pretty well at our regional competition. Anyway, was there a question? Nope. Okay. Anyway, that's how this whole photograph came about. What's it have in it? I don't know where it is on the canvas here, but if you get a chance to find it on the wall. It has color contrast because the finished print has kind of a slate dark blue quality about it. The warm tones coming out from the dark blue has contrasted line, all the curved lines with the straight lines and so forth. The detail is substantially reduced because of the underexposure of the rest of the building and so forth. So all the things work. Light, the light is part of the subject, happens to be the hot spot behind the bride and groom. So light, cover, and detail were combined to make this photograph really kind of work. Background modification, let's just zip through here. One way, and again, I'll zip through here pretty quick. One way to modify the background is with aperture selection, throw the thing out of focus, doing something like that. Another way to modify the background is with the shutter speed. They're aperture controlled, right? I mean, that's flash coming in on them. So I can use my shutter speed to change that background around to lighten it or darken it. Because that's shutter speed control. Flash doesn't even get to that background. Northwest Airlines has remounted a couple of my slides for me here, I've noticed. But again, background modification is, take a look at this church right here. It's just kind of open right here in this area here. I want to put a groom right here, but I'm concerned that this color is going to draw more viewers' attention to it than my groom right here. How can I get more viewers' attention to the subject if I'm going to have a subject right here? What do we do in the studio? We turn on a background light on our background. There's my assistant holding an Lumidyne about 100 watt seconds. I'm going to put a background light right there and have that happen. And now when I stand the groom in front of it, it's helping a little bit, but because the ambient light is a little bit too strong, I needed to increase shutter speed to have that happen there. And now, what I'm doing is I'm actually having the viewer, me, you guys, focus more on the groom because of that highlighted area behind his head just a bit. I remember the guy sitting on the steps we saw a little bit earlier. Exactly what I did too, that really dark building. I said, my gosh, this building is like a zone 4. I want my groom to really talk. I'm going to see if I can kick my building at least up to a zone 6. So I just, I knew what my taking aperture was. I don't know what it was, say 5, 6, I heard 20th of a second in that particular situation. So what do I need to get that background? I need two stops more light on that background. So anyway, the Lumidyne, I think, was about 100 watt seconds on that background of that wall, wherever that picture is around the room here. This is the one I'm talking about. Again, modifying the background, just bringing a little bit of flash. I unfortunately don't have the light coming in, my directional light coming in from the front here that I did in the other photograph. But still, you're seeing how the background is being modified here. Window light photography. This is fairly standard window light photograph. The bride, 3-to-1 ratio and so forth, aligning the face to the direction of the light with lighting pattern. Kind of pretty. My background is a very expensive $6 piece of white fabric strung between 2 light stands. And I saw a photographer in West Virginia do that one time. That's kind of neat. So we were playing around with that for a while. But again, when we talk about window light photography, typically, this is kind of a non-traditional window light photograph. It's not the regular one where the bride's always clutching the 4 flowers and staring at them. It's kind of, these lines are kind of interesting. It's, contemporary is probably not the right word, but it's definitely not the romantic, beautiful window light kind of a photograph. It's definitely a little bit different. It's fairly contrasting too. It's about a 5-to-1 ratio here. People might say, that ratios are pretty harsh. Well, if you want a 3-to-1, just pop the reflector back up in place, and you can go ahead and get something like that. I always say, I never know from one time to the other as I look at these slides, whether I like the one that's a little bit more contrasty or the other one. It's like from week to week or month to month I vary. I'm probably into this one because I kind of like the mysterious shadow created by the illuminator, the reflector on the wall. I think it's kind of neat. Again, just, I don't know, maybe a little bit more fashion kind, I don't know, just a little bit different. Again, there's a couple that we saw in the church from real far away. Take a look at this photograph. This was done simply the same way that I do any window light photograph, typically. I just simply get the bride and groom next to a window. You might say, the groom kind of, maybe he looks like he just looks a pound or two, he's pretty broad-faced and so forth. And your eyes go to the groom's face and the bride and even over to his ear, right? Is that kind of how your eyes wander through the scene? Okay, what happens if I lose a reflector and I'll take a look at it? Now where's your eye go? Right to the masks of their faces. And there's much better visual balance. Even the mass of her dark hair is now balanced with the mass of the shadow on his side of the face too. Again, I just keyed to him. He's in a loop lighting pattern. And you might say, well, heck, you got the eyes of the bride kind of pocketed there. Well, I kind of like that because I've got the chin down and I'm seeing she has beautiful, beautiful eyes. And she has a whole bunch of white that now I'm actually perceiving in those shadows too. It makes you go and look into the shadows to really enjoy her eyes and her look. I guess that's what I like about it too. Okay, let me just back up again, just to show, the main thing I want to show is with reflector and without reflector, how we can control the viewer's eye. Okay? This is a situation too where the contrast lighting was fairly harsh on this bride right here, and I decided an easy way to get the lighting on the subject. And bare bulb, a lot of times people think is very soft lighting. Bare bulb is not soft lighting, it's very harsh lighting. Harshness being a factor of the sharpness of the shadow edge, okay? What I call the shadow edge acutance, what Dean Collins calls the energy transfer area between the highlights and the shadow. That energy transfer area is very quick. It's a sharp edge shadow. If it's a smooth edge shadow, it's a soft energy transfer area, according to Dean. Well, anyway, a bare bulb, if you're in a closed living room space, kind of bounces all the way around, it creates its own film. Or if you're using bare bulb in a church and dragging the shutter quite a bit, again, the ambient light is softening the contrast of the scene, which apparently, softening the contrast will fool the eye into thinking that it's a soft kind of a light. But actually, if you can't soften the contrast of a scene, bare bulb illumination is pretty harsh. It's pretty harsh. Now, I could have brought fill in a bunch of other things, but I wanted you to see just how sharply defined shadow edges are with bare bulb. It's pinpoint light source, and pinpoint light sources are sharp. So anyway, that's why this is in there, just so you can see that. Another thing that I use quite often is called side bounce or wall bounce. And I have to tell you, since Paul Skipworth was here yesterday, I guess, Paul Skipworth is my second instructor in my career, as a matter of fact. We go back to Winona, 1980. Bob Dresky, Paul Skipworth, and I forget the third guy, who was a portrait or a senior guy out of North South Carolina. Hugh Gentry was his name. But I remember I was talking to Paul Skipworth running through the halls of old Winona and Winona Lake, and he said, "Yeah, some of the lake we just use wall bounce." And I had no idea what it meant. I didn't know what he was talking about, but it was a thing. I said, I guess he's bouncing a light off of the wall. So this was, like I say, 1980 or 81 or whatever. And I went home from Winona, and I thought, well, heck, why can't I do that? I'm thinking I had a photograph. Clearly, I had a photograph this girl's wedding one October evening, and I was going to do my window light photography, my standard kind of window light stuff. Drop the background behind her and everything. But it was so dark, I was getting like 1 second exposures, like all the way open, like on an F4, and I thought, I don't even want to fiddle with this. What's this wall bounce that just keeps going on in my mind here? Maybe if there's a part of the wall that I can illuminate, that would give me a direction of light that was the same direction of light that I could get if I had a softbox or something there. I should be able to create a photograph that looks like it was taken in the studio with some kind of soft lighting box, a softbox or a halo or something like that. So what we did was, we just bounced off the wall, and look how huge of an area of light we create right here. This is like an ancient slide right here, but you can see the light coming in, illuminating my bride. Well, this was the first try I ever tried it, this October wedding, 1980 or whatever. Done with an 80 millimeter lens on the Hasselblad. I didn't even own a 150 millimeter lens at the time. And it was done with, anybody remember the old Ascor 1600? 1600, bounced off of a wall, probably 5, 6, something or another. And that was my first attempt, and I was like, we're real pleased that it came out looking like that. What's happening is that when you hit the wall, you create a light source, and the light source happens to be this whole area right here, that has the same direction of light hitting the subject as a softbox might have right here. So the finished photograph looks like it was taken with a softbox. Because the direction of light's the same, so the light characteristics need to be the same. And who cares whether it's bounced off of a wall or coming through a halo or a softbox or whatever, it just doesn't make any difference. So now if I'm working, same girl in the museum, I wanted the direction of light to be coming from the left. My assistant's over on the right. I just had my assistant shoot the light, being very careful not to get any raw light in my subject's face, to aim at the opposite wall. Who cares if those little photons are flying in front of the bride's nose? She can't see them, and they're not illuminating her because they're all going that way. But once they hit the wall, they scatter, and then I get enough of them come back to give me a direction of light coming from, and I'm talking about as we're looking at the screen, coming from the left-hand side, falling on our face right here. I said we see this photograph again, that's exactly how that photograph was. Anyway, I think what Dennis says, and I'm giving him credit for this, about, some of these hands-off moments can be pretty important moments in the coverage. The dad has tears coming down his cheek in this photograph when his son was getting married. And we just kind of roamed very quietly around the church, 150 millimeter telephoto lenses, just kind of capturing what I call little vignettes of people throughout the church. Mom and dad and maybe brothers and sisters. I think we had one little flower girl or somebody in this particular coverage. And I think these kinds of moments are pretty important to have too. We nicknamed them at South Carolina School a couple weeks ago, Reggie Moments. Anyway, I think Reggie Moments can be kind of interesting. Let me back up just a bit more. Can be kind of interesting at the wedding coverage. I wish I had another image I should throw in here too, because an image that I think is really a moderately powerful image as part of the wedding coverage, and you guys might think I'm crazy, is photographs of the bridesmaids not coming down the aisle, but going down the aisle. Okay, let me say that again. Not coming down the aisle, because I don't photograph the girls coming down the aisle. But 6 months ago, I started photographing the girls going down the aisle. Now think about that just for a second. If you're standing in the back of the church, and we have all done this, probably every several rows, a processional going down the aisle with the groomsmen watching, and 1, 2, or 3 girls down the aisle, and it's kind of neat. You're like, oh, look, I got one of the bride or dad coming down here soon, and the bride and dad start coming down, and you jump in front of them, take the picture and everything, and you got, standard stereotype wedding photograph number 16, or whatever it happens to be. But anyway, think about what happens when the girls are going down the aisle. What is the last thing the bride sees before she walks down that aisle? The view of the girls going down the aisle and the groomsmen waiting for them. And if that image is captured in your coverage, it's like that's the same moment the bride has before she walks down the aisle. And since I've been taking that photograph, the bride face from the back, I sell it 100% of the time. It is really kind of a neat image. So I'm just throwing that one in. Flash to enhance the direction of light. If I can enhance the direction of light, then that frees up my shutter speed to control the light value of my backgrounds too. So those are like important considerations whenever I'm working outdoors. You can see the direction of light coming in here in the bride and groom. In fact, you got the shadow of the groom on the pillar back there. Backlighting right here on the beach. Rim lighting now, dragging the shutter a bit to pick up the density of the sky that I want. But typically when I'm using my flash and backlighting people, if it's 3 feet behind them on the ground, I get that hot spot of light. If it's 6 to 7 feet behind them on the ground, I get the hot spot of light, not as much though, and I start to get a little rimming out. If it's 10 to 12 feet behind them, 4 feet off the ground, pointing at their shoulder blades, I get this rimming effect that you see right here. Because the light is now making a straighter line from its source around the subject into the camera lens, as opposed to, if I get closer to the subject, there ain't no way the light's going to bend that much and get back into the camera lens. But if I back it up to about 12 feet away, I can enhance that rimming out effect that I want right here. It said flash control outdoors. Let me also talk about some other flash control techniques. I'm probably going to be told I got to take a break here in a minute. We're going to say that.
Whenever you can break.
Okay, I'm going to finish up these slides, which will just be a few more minutes, and then we'll set up for our bride and groom. How many times, and again, if you're into wide-angle lenses, what's the typical thing that we do our way is behind my bride and my groom right here, or behind my bride right here. How can I reduce the size of that doorway? Well, I can move away from it, right? Well, if I could, but how can I move away from that door or move that door away from me? Change to a wider angle optic, right? This is done with an 80. I'm going to put the 50 on that. I'll make it get further away, won't it? Sure. And then I'll just bring my bride closer to the camera to maintain the same image size as she was with the 80, and now I can make that whole doorway kind of disappear. So again, I'm using the focal length to give me control over how I'm putting my composition together. Now, let me stop right here and say that is exactly how the bride in the snow was done. I'm thinking right away, I see all these lines kind of leading up. I go, oh boy, wide angle lens, like where's the 40? Slap that sucker on. And I was like, my gosh, I can't take her into the snow here. And I thought, well, we got some parking lot up there, so I just right up here in the parking lot and so forth, and I'm 40 millimeter. I said, I can't even see her. I got this huge snowbank in my viewfinder, and I got the bride teeny tiny. Well, how can I make the bride bigger relative to my snowbank? How about a longer focal length lens to kind of compress things? So real quick, where's 150? We slapped the 150 millimeter lens on, and then I backed away a bunch, which brought the proportion of the view of the snow that I wanted, brought that in much better proportion with the size of my bride. So I was literally able to make my bride substantially larger relative to the snowbank by going to the wider angle optic. Okay, so it looks like it's a wide angle lens, but it's a 150 millimeter lens on that. It's just how the snow is drifting, it gives it that wide angle look. Let me demonstrate it again. Oh, this is just very simply running the lenses here. This is done with a 50 millimeter lens. Notice you see two trees. The bride and groom aren't moving. I'm just moving my camera back and forth. Put the 80 millimeter lens on. Now I'm up to 1, 2, 3, 4 trees, maybe 5. Let's put the 150 millimeter lens on. Now I'm up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And all I'm changing, they have not moved at all. I'm just simply changing the focal length of the lenses and creating this whole different perspective of subject relative to the background. And how many times we say, oh, I got the 80 mil, I just make the 80 work. Well, what happens if you change the focal length of the lens? How can a whole picture change? It can change substantially. The sun was kind of spotty right here. Finally, the sun went behind the clouds. I knew they were just in open shade or whatever. I asked my assistant to fire up the Luminine, flashed a little bit of light on them. I said, shoot, they were flashing a little bit too much. I think I asked Steve to kick the power down from 200 watt seconds down to 100 watt seconds, and I got it balanced a little bit better here. Okay, let's go back again. Because what I'm going to show you here is literally how I changed the relationship of the background with stuff in the foreground. Real quick, everybody look at the photograph. Tell me if it's a large, medium, or a small church. Small. I'm hearing small around the room. Remember, you all said that. Okay, the groom is going to stand next to aisle 12 for the next 2 photographs. Remember what I said about the bride and the snowdrift over here, that I had to make the bride larger relative to the snowdrift? What I want to do in this case here, just follow me here, is I want to make this arch larger relative to my groom. And this is exactly what I'm thinking when I'm taking the snowdrift photograph 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago, whenever I did it. And I need to make the bride larger relative to the snowdrift. Longer optics. Let's go, this is done with a 50 millimeter lens. Let's put the 80 millimeter lens on and see how the background will enlarge relative to the subject in the foreground. Large, medium, or small church? I'm not sure now. Let's put the 150 millimeter lens on. 150 millimeter lens on and see how much that will now increase this arch in the background, or increase the bride in the background of the snowdrift. Put the 150 millimeter lens on, backed up as far as I could. Large, medium, or small church. It's getting bigger. And isn't it amazing the amount of change you get of the subject in the foreground with the object in the background? Or the subject in the background and the object in the foreground. It works both ways. It's a tremendous flip-flop of image size relative to each other. Tremendous. And that is a wonderful tool of composition at our disposal. Anyway, getting back to this church, large, medium, or small, the implication right now is that wide-angle optics, in this case, makes the church look small. But we all know that a lot of times wide-angle optics will make something look large. Well, what makes things look large when you're right here? Can I make this church appear even larger? Well, I think so. If my hypothesis works, that the more repeat elements that I can get over the greater area of my composition here, I should be able to psychologically create an image that has more apparent depth because of these repeat elements. A wide-angle lens is going to be taking more of them. Maybe a change of camera position can also enhance this part of the image area so I can pick up more repeat elements. This photograph's taken about 3.5, 4 feet off the ground, picking up all the repeat elements of the ceiling. If I get up on a ladder, say about 7 feet shooting down, I'm not going to really lose many of my ceiling elements, but I'm going to pick up a whole lot more pew elements down here. And what might happen is if I have even more repeat elements over the greater area of the photograph, maybe I can make it look even larger. And I'm going to re-ask the question, is it a large, medium, or a small church? And the fact of the matter is it's quite large. Although the optics made it look quite small, now the optics are making it look quite large, and the curious thing is, it's the same optics making it look large now that made it look small before. It was making it look small before because there were no repeat elements in there. There was just a relationship between the background and the foreground. And when I have just a relationship there, then the focal length of the lens can change that relationship. But now the wide-angle optics here are using the repeat elements to give the perception that it's much larger. And even the camera position is allowing me to include even more repeat elements, which increases the depth or the size or enormity or whatever of the church. Okay? Just some basic things. Now, again, some people this might be very basic. Some people this might be like real good information. I hope it's maybe a review of basics and also good information. One thing I'm trying to do is like utter simplicity when I'm taking my photographs. I'm going to demonstrate my views of the place. I'm going to demonstrate the lighting patterns. And then I thought I would tell you how we can do some high-key photographs very quickly. And also I thought we would just do some quick posing, like I would pose a bride and a groom on a wedding day. We got the video monitors set up here, and I'm actually going to try to frame in the viewfinder here and not worry too much about cameras and so forth, even though I brought them here, just so you kind of get an idea of what I'm trying to do. Do we have the transmitter part of this?
It's up on top. It's down toward the inside of the foot. Up on top.
Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. Is it all turned on? No. What I'm going to do is just flash it for the video so you can kind of see what kind of picture I'm trying to get to. All right? Oh, yeah. Got some important information to share. We're setting up right now. I mentioned I'm going to use the power lights for what I call my room lights at the wedding reception. I'll tell you, when I'm shooting my regular wedding photography, I like that good old white light, the Ultra 600. I don't know if they were exhibitors here or not, but it's like half the weight. It's super duper light. It's like 3 pounds or 2.5 pounds. And I don't use this. I actually use the Westcott Halo that I sort of fell in love with a long time ago when they first came out. Simply because it's a convex light source. And I'll tell you, you don't see anybody hardly using convex light sources. Convex means that it kind of comes out like that. The thing I like about it is speed of operation. This thing can be turning this way or this way, 60-degree angle, and I'll still get basically the same direction of light falling on my subject. You do that with a flat surface or something like the recessed Apollo, and it's a very directional light source. You get into feathering and this and that. I'll tell you, I'm not into that feathering or that fine tune of control because I'm working fairly quickly when I'm photographing a wedding. I average a photograph about every 45 seconds when I'm taking photographs of my brides and grooms on the wedding day. And that's quick and along. What this gives me is a built-in margin of error. If the assistant has a little bit tilted one way or something, it's still going to take a good photograph for me. Literally, I try to have the shaft pointing at the subject most of the time. It takes a little bit of light, throws it on the background, throws a little bit of light automatically over to my reflector. I don't have to get into this, well, let's see, I got some on the subject, now I got it on the reflector, and oh, okay, there it is. I don't have time to do that. So that's why I like this. I also like the 45-inch when they make 3 sizes. The 36-inch one, which I think is like the bowl of porridge, it's just too small or something or another one. The 36-inch one's too small, and the 50-whatever-inch one is too expensive, so the 45-inch one is just right. That's why I decided on this one. It's also light. You see me just, whatever it is. I think it's less than a pound. This is a piece of information, too. I don't know how many people got the halos, but I talked to Tom Walls, who owns the company. I said, Tom, I know when I'm photographing a wedding or whatever, sometimes these things fall over and the ribs kind of get bent. Anybody have that problem with a halo? I mean, they're pretty sensitive. I don't know if you know this, if you have one. $20 on the thing back. I'll send back a new one / repaired one, postage paid. So like for $20, you can get a new one every year. So I mean, I think that's important. I tell you, I asked who else was I talking with? Stan Weinberg about the wine kinds of things and so forth. That again, they have the same kind of like companies like. I'm going to tell you the 3 companies that I know do this. They have like perpetual warranties. They might not like me telling you this. But White Lightning has a perpetual warranty. The thing can break down, send it into them. It always comes back fixed, and there's never a bill. Wine products, send it in. It's always fixed. There's never a bill. Westcott, you get a $20 bill. I think that's fairly cheap for a $100 and something item these days. So anyway, I think that's real good policy for the manufacturers. Just right down now. Turn towards the light just a bit. Perfect. Now, I don't know if you're going to have to do your pictures. Are you here to see Paul? Okay, don't let him pose you that way. okay? You can all check the monitors, and some of you are sitting in front, but has anybody ever seen that wedding pose before? Bride strangling dear life out of that poor bouquet of flowers, staring at him, you know? You know, and this is like typical wedding pose number, whatever it happens to be. You know, it's a standard one. First of all, if you're ever going to be illuminating your subject, what am I doing right here? I'm just blasting the light into the bride's gown. I've created highlight density only. I have no detail at all in this gorgeous gown. Is this your real gown?
No.
This isn't nearly as gorgeous as the gown she's wearing on her wedding day, but it's pretty. But anyway, if you look at the monitors, I hope this is true that what I'm telling you, but it should be blasting away a lot of the detail. So regardless of whether you're using, let this represent only a light source. This is only a direction of light. Forget it says light dome XTC on it, it's got a power light attached to it. Just imagine it as a direction of light, because what I want to tell you right now is always true with any light source that we have. Always have the light cross the subject. Why? So we don't create a highlight density only, but if we have the light cross the subject, we can create a shadow next to a highlight. And anytime you have a shadow next to a highlight, you create detail, depth, texture, and dimension to your scene. So what I'm going to ask Molly to do, Molly, just rotate this way. Kick your right foot out towards me, all the way to the back foot. Beautiful bride. Okay, and I would hope that the monitors are... Oh, you're doing fine. Do me a favor, can you just kind of stay centered on that line? I'm going to ask you to move back that way a little bit more. Even a little bit more. Drop the left shoulder down. All right, there you go. Bring your head back around. Oh, that's perfect. Just stay right like that. Now, don't really look at her too much, but just look at the detail in the gown, and you should be able to see substantially more detail in the gown. So I can tell photographers this, and even though they'll do this in the studio, say, oh yeah, in the studio, I got to have the bride this way and the light coming over here. But then the minute they get into a window light situation, they turn the bride right back towards the window again. It's a light source, turn the bride back that way so the light crosses the gown. If you're working with a Luminine or some kind of off-camera flash outdoors, don't have the bride this way and go into the gown again. Do this so the light skims across the gown all the time. The plane of the shoulders and the chest and so forth, that's a plane that the light should be skimming across to create the detail and the texture and all that other business. All right? That's rule number one. Rule number two is when I'm posing my people, I try to change every static horizontal and every static vertical line into what I call a dynamic diagonal line. So if we look through our viewfinder right now, what I have is from shoulder to elbow, a fairly vertical line, and from elbow to wrist, a fairly vertical line. So I'm going to ask Molly to lower her powers just a bit. I'm going to come back to camera here. And also, Molly, bring your hands around this way a little bit more, flaws around here. Lower the powers just a bit more. This way, just a fraction. Back. Right there. I'd like everyone to notice the wonderful Zeiser hand pose going on right now. It works fine, you know. Okay. Molly, let me have you stand up. We'll call it for me. There. Perfect. That's what I wanted. And now, look at left shoulder to right shoulder, fairly horizontal. I want to accentuate it just a bit more. Also look at the line from her neck to her waist, and we also got a vertical line running there. So what I want to do is change the static verticals into dynamic diagonals. Molly, I want you to just lean. Yep, kick your right foot out this way towards the right stand. That'll help you. Okay. That's still not a little bit too much lean. Okay. Let me see where we are here. We're going to lean back. I was getting trouble here. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to. I have no idea what that looks like on a monitor. She's looking fine here in the camera, but I'm looking through the viewfinder and I need my perspective here a bit. Does she look like she's leaning and then views in the monitor? Is anyone in the front row, can you tell me that? Okay, what I'm going to do, Molly, lean even more. You might feel funny. Over that way. Not quite that much. Okay, perfect. Now bring your head around a bunch. Yep, just your head. There you go. Relax shoulders. There you go. So we're starting to get something here. You look a whole lot better in person than you do on that TV monitor right now. So, let me see if I can get the match up here. I'm going to ask everybody patience here for 1 second. We literally have the pupils of the eye centered within the eye sockets. We have an equal amount of white on the right hand and the left hand side. What I want to do is bring Molly's head from the full face view into the into a modified full face view. Molly, bring your head around even more. Slightly tilt your head just a bit. Lean your whole body a little bit more. Good. Towards me a little bit. There you go. Tilt just a bit. Turn your head away from me a bit more. Eyes to camera. This one right here. Okay. Okay. Turn your head even more. Like tilt. Okay. Another thing I'm going to do is lose this reflector right here. Because our video is kind of compensating. Chin down just a bit for me. Okay. And now let's look at the photograph. Where do your eyes go in the monitor? They sort of tend to go to her eyes, don't they? The reason is that I got a whole lot of the white. I got a whole lot of the white of the eyes just decentered, if you will. I've got the eyes decentered, so all the white of the eye is just to the left-hand side of Molly as we're looking at her here. That makes the brightest part of her face her eye, so I can control the viewer's eye as they look at the photograph of Molly by putting all that, the brightest part of her face, just decentering the eyes to make the eye section the brightest part. So the modified full face view is probably my favorite. Chin up just a bit, turn just a bit more. Lean your whole body a little bit. There you go. Okay, there you go. Like go. You're doing good. Too much, too nice. Okay, can you hold that for half a second? And the other thing is just a couple fine points here. Rocky gun, where to put the veil pin. The veil should always split the shoulder or the arm. Anyway, something like that. I hate to see it coming down here because then we get those vertical lines again one more time. Also, I'm just trying to hit some quick points here as we go through. If you have the bride like holding the gown out and doing all these kinds of real dramatic kinds of things, don't have them hold them with the index finger and the thumb. Have them hold them with the second finger and the thumb, and that way this finger here, the index finger, can be a continuation line of the gown. It's just, that is probably a Don Blair idea or a Rocky Gun idea or something or another. But the middle fingers and then the outside fingers you can do to position the hand or show the hand, a little smoother line of the hand. Okay? Okay, let's go into a 2/3 view quick. She's ready for a 2/3 view, I can tell. Is your foot kind of kicking out this way? Yes. Okay. And now lean a little bit. No, not backwards. More. Sideways. There you go. Turn your head a little bit more. A little bit more. Light tilt. Turn your head a teeny bit more. More. And you can just kind of be looking right above the far exit sign. All right. Talk about lighting patterns in a minute. What does this look like on our monitor this time? Oh, that's pretty good. Turn your head to 15. That's fine. That's 2/3. Looking at the exit sign. Okay, that would be a 2/3 view. And now, I'll tell you, I learned this little bit from a Canadian photographer by the name of Murray White when I was in Toronto a couple years ago. On a 2/3 view, I always kind of knew like when they were breaking out of a 2/3 view, but I never really knew when they were kind of coming into a 2/3 view. Murray's idea was that when we have the outside tip of the nose start to line up with the inside corner of the far eye on a vertical line, we have a 2/3 view. And I think if we look at the monitor, I'm seeing it right here where I'm standing. Molly, do me a favor, just lean a little bit sideways. There you go. Tilt your head back a little bit. I'm sorry. To the right. Bring your head back. Chin down a bit. Okay. And right there would be the 2/3 view. The inside corner of the eye is lined up on a vertical with the outside tip of the nose. 2/3 view. That's going to differ from person to person because of their physiology and so forth. But it's a good rule of thumb. When do they break out of the 2/3 view? Molly, if you can, just turn your head away from me even more. Look too far, just slowly. Tilt your head just a bit. Turn your head away from me a bit more. Right about there. Notice that the far eye is no longer contained or framed. It's no longer framed by the far part of the face. So we're starting to fall out of our 2/3 view. Also notice how the tip of her nose is starting to extend or almost come in contact with the edge with the cheek line. That's another indication that she's fallen out of the 2/3 view. So again, finally bring your head back a bit. A little bit more, right about there. That would be the 2/3 view. Okay. And now finally into the profile view. Maybe just turn, just rotate. Good, right there. Oh. Now just your head. More. Perfect. Break, you're going to break it down. George, can I have help with the cords here? They're just kind of... Let me see if I got it in profile view. Okay, that would be, turn your nose back towards me, Molly. Away from me a bit. Right about there. Okay, that would be a profile view, but a couple things on the profile. I want a nice clean background, so I'm going to pull the hair out of the way if I can, or push the hair out in front. But be sure the veil's out of the way. You don't want any of those kinds of pictures. The veil coming out the nostrils and stuff. Something else that can happen too is you can create what I call the billy goat effect. It's not very flattering. It's when some of the bride's hair is kind of kicking out from behind, and it's actually kind of under her chin a little bit. And you don't really notice it in 3 dimensions, but when it comes back from your lab in 2 dimensions, it definitely looks like she needed to shave earlier in the day. No, it's not hardly shown at all. Just kidding. Okay. But I think a profile is really a dramatic view of the face. You got a nice clean line from the forehead around the nose, the lips, the chin, and down around the neck, and so forth. Another thing is, you can't ever see yourself in a true profile view. You can see yourself in a full face view, just go get up in the morning, look in the mirror. Modified full face view, turn your head and still look in the mirror. 2/3 view, still kind of looking out the corner of your eyes into the mirror, you can still see what you look like in a 2/3 view. A profile view is tough, unless you're real quick. But since people can't see themselves that way, it's probably my favorite photograph to take, and it's typically 80% of the time the lead-off photograph in my wedding album too. Now you're going to say, well, what happens if the girl or the guy doesn't have a good profile? I'll still check it out. And they'll say, oh, you're not going to take a profile of me, are you? I said, let me try anyway. And then I look at it through the camera, oh my gosh, you're absolutely right. No. No. Just kidding, I'm starting to get punchy now. But anyway, even if it's not the most flattering, still take the picture, okay? And then ease into something else. But I always check it out, because a lot of times people that think they have not very good profiles really have some beautiful profiles, and they've never seen themselves that way. So anyway, give it a try, I guess is what I'm saying. Some other things about profiles. Now, I've got that veil sticking out there just a bit, but I'm not going to worry about that too much for our video. I'm not showing you guys too much.
Will the other light flare the lamp?
What a wonderful question. Will the other light flare the lens? Let me see if I can do something here. George. Yes. Oh, I can't do that. Never mind. I was going to try to use that other grip. I'm trying to get some left to right tilt here, but with the video head, I can't do this. That's why I'm trying to tilt this thing. Finally, turn towards me just a bit more. Good. Just now your head back the other way. There you go. A little bit more. Your head's going to like just a fraction more. Okay. Will this light flare my lens? Yes, it will. And that's when I bring the reflector around to this side and just kick it right in like that. It acts as a go-go and also my fill illumination too. Now, if we look at that photograph from her shoulder down. I got a real awkward kind of a hook right there. So Molly, I want you, if you don't mind, keep your right elbow out of punch. That helps. And again, another thing that can help is let's take these flowers and just hold them right here. Okay. Just let your hand kind of hang down. There's pretty standard wedding photographer groom's pose. Where do you crop it? Well, do you crop it here and shoot into the crotch to get the hand in, or you not shoot in the crotch and crop it here and amputate his hand? Well, make your hand into an easy fist. Put your elbow right up to your knee. Back here. Shoot into the side of the hand. Also show that there's a joint here. I'm going to have him bend it just a bit. And don't let him hang down the hand this way where you get into your cropping problems. Have him kick it up just a little bit, like on purpose, and then you can crop, I always say, right at the pant seat. This hand can be in a pocket or whatever he wants to do with it. You guys can all see that on the monitor, can't you? Sorry about that. There we go. So. Okay. Another thing I want to do too is be aware of what I call the broken neck on your subject. Look at Rick from the top of the head to the chin, and right at the neck it kind of breaks. It changes direction from the neck down to his waist. I want a long line, a long, strong diagonal for a masculine pose. So what I'm going to do is ask Rick. You got it, Rick. Good. Turn your head away just a bit. Now come back just a bit. Let's turn your head back towards me. A little taller if you can. There you go. Slight tilt. Just your head. And if I can get this thing. Okay, and something like that.
Okay, that's the Challenger lift.
Which is a very steep hill. Justin has skied it. How many times, Justin? Two.
And that's the view of the mountain from the west window of the condominium.
Now, folks, we will take you to the Spanish Peaks. Back to you, Dick.
Okay, this is the bottom of Silver Knife we're on right now, up here. Colin and Sue are going to be coming down this in just a minute. Right where that person is coming down. You can see it's Thursday, and things are snowing pretty heavily. We've had a lot of snow this week, and I haven't taken the camera out much. You can't see the top of the peak at all, and there isn't much good skiing up there right now. So that's the gondola line. We're up behind the condominium here. That's the other gondola line. That's shut down. There they come. This is Colin coming down Silver Knife. Whoa. Hi, Guy.
Hi.
Where'd you ski today? Where?
I said, let me think.
Oh.
Lone Wolf,
little hard to do much here. All right, Colin, let's go down this way.
More Morning Star. And that's all.
Did you ski the race course?
No, but I skied some practice courses.
Ah.
And I also skied Silverknife, which I'm skiing right now.
Oh, okay. Okay, here we are coming back to the condo now.
You lean into the hill. That's the way.
Yeah.
Justin, look behind you. Justin! Hey, Grandpa!
Gramps! Okay, video camera. Okay, video cam.
Okay, this morning we've got a beautiful sunny morning, sort of. Partly cloudy. There's Lone Peak.
And so I
There's Susan riding up the ramp.
It's a little windy.
It's a little cool and windy. There's Christina.
Here, Colin.
There's Colin. He's gonna ski this morning.
Now, look in front of you. There are 4 people in the quad chair ahead of you. Dad, the camera. On the left is Scott, Aunt Trish's boyfriend. Next to him is Aunt Trish. Next to Aunt Trish is Grandpa. And on the right is Justin.
Oh, let me go!
Oh, let me go. This is the
Bumpy
mogul
ride there.
of Ambush.
Yeah, this is Ambush. Christina skis this every day.
Colin wants to ski this morning.
Colin wants to ski it.
No? You sure?
And it is thick with powder right now.
That's the bowl up there. They've been blowing up avalanches over there all week. Why? This is the first time we've had the video camera out. It's been too wet.
First time we've been able to see the peak.
Yeah, and too wet, too cloudy. That's down the hill. That's where we came from. It won't be much longer. Now, some people actually ski this.
This is the part
the
under
lift
the
line.
chair of.
Okay, here we are on the top of the lift. This is the back side of Andesite Mountain this morning. That run's closed because there wasn't enough snow this week.
Windy. The hair is blowing all over the place.
Hi, Justin.
Hi.
And we're up here at the top of the chair.
Justin, keep your chin out of there, yeah. Glasses off. Oh, it doesn't make any difference.
This one back here. Hold your butt.
All right, you ready, Justin?
Not windy, so you might as well take it now.
Anytime you're ready.
You're going to have him leaning forward.
Okay, Chambers family. Oh, get
And I
out
was
there.
busy talking.
Glasses off.
I'm coming.
Take them off. Hold them.
Yeah, you can hold them.
Are we too odd angled? We need to...
Yeah, Dick, back up a little more. Christina, back up just a trifle. A little more. Oh, right there. Dick, back.
Put your hand down.
That work?
Sue, come ahead.
I'm kind of holding him there.
Well,
You get the mountain in, Trish? Does it say record in there?
Well, there's the button.
your feet
Yeah,
are
it says
funny.
record.
Can you point them uphill more? Yeah.
Okay, I ski funny too.
Okay, you got off your chin. That's it. Okay.
Gotta get the skis in here
Stand up
too.
straight, Colin. Way up straight. That knee is bent. Straighten it up. All right. Chin on top of that air.
There's
Whoa! Snow's coming here. Okay, here we go. Whoa!
oh,
All right, ready?
oh, wait.
Colin's chin is down in there again. Try it again. All right, here you go. Well, you can get close.
Oh, this strap is
It's
fine.
grinding in here. It's grinding.
All right, Kyle. Put your thing back on now. Wait a second. Stay right there for a minute. All right. Where are we going? Tippy's Gumbo. Kyle wants to do Tippy. I want to do the pacifier.
We gotta get the man and the mountain.
And the mountain has conquered the man.
Yeah.
Yes,
How about the woman?
the woman's been conquered a few times too. But still hanging in there.
Are we still talking skiing?
My eye.
Oh,
Oh, it looks cold around here.
keep going. Same way you go for Silver Knife, only we'll go
Okay.
to the left instead of the right.
Silver Knife or gondola?
Tippies he wants to do.
Yeah, Tippy's is easier to get to the gondola.
Tippies, yeah, a little more tippy.
I'm still recording.
Oh,
That's called powder, huh?
are you okay? Can I ask that first?
You think you were in like Yellowstone? There's an elk on the side of the road. Everybody pulls over and takes pictures.
Can you at least make some animal noises?
I'll jump down there.
Would you relax the picture? You hit the trim, huh? Oh, my shoulder. That really, yeah, I bounced right on my shoulder. You don't want to go until there's been skied on a bit.
Uh-oh, that was it.
Kind of ambush.
That was it.
Well, good thing you got all those feet.
You know what? I think I'm gonna drop this back.
That's way. Here we go.
I am. I don't want to sit around with it. Are we going to the gondola?
Go over that way, Colin. Okay, Justin. Yay!
Don't shoot me! Shoot the one up there!
Whoa!
And a wipeout. Turn again. Turn again. Coming up with the steep part.
Doing a good job, Colin.
You do.
No, you can't do that.
Okay.
I'll get you in a minute.
I said urchins, that's a needlefish. F-I-S-H. Colin, are you playing? Yeah. H.
Hippopotamus.
There's ambush.
I can just say hippo.
All right, so then I have an octopus.
S.
Mm-hmm.
S. S.
Skating away. You got stuff all over your face.
Mom. S. You can pass it, can't you?
Here, Colin.
No,
come
you
over here
can't
for a
pass.
minute. Colin, come over here for a minute.
Oh, that is hard. I need an S. Anyone got an S animal? Yeah. What? Snake. Oh, thank you. Snake. Dad, E. Snake. Dad, E.
I wonder how much nice weather we're going to have left here. I see clouds building in all around.
E.
E?
E.
Elephant.
Now it's T to me.
T to Colin. When's it over here? Turtle.
Now I get the next E. Emu.
Emu.
Ends in U.
U. Oh, I wish I had used urchin.
Oh, windy.
Yalinda.
No.
Sorry, wrong game.
Urchin.
It's really dark over there to the west. I don't know.
S, Dad, S.
Seal.
Is that to me or to Colin?
L, Colin. The Loch Ness Monster. Loch Ness Monster.
I guess so. R, huh? Rhinoceros.
S. O.
That's the avalanche on. Oh, I just shot a charge. Another one coming pretty soon. or not, there's a guy up on the ridge up there who's throwing dynamite. Oh, man.
Hey! Don't you do that! I bet you're wondering what happened to me.
What happened to you?
Oh, sorry. Dad.
Hold on, Colin.
Dad, could you
Let's get your boots on.
help me with my boots?
Yes, I will.
When I'm trying to get my boots on. Here you go,
Here you go, Mother.
Mr. Okay? Yeah, I want to do that.
It's running.
It is running?
This must be the mother. Cappy cat. Mom, make him stop copying me. I'm not too rude, talk to me.
What have you got in your hands, Christina?
Me? A boot unbox.
Where the heck did you get that?
When I won my race yesterday.
You won a race?
In skiing, yeah.
Wow.
All the kids got it though, so it's no big deal.
You buckled on that, son?
Yeah. You didn't run it. Yeah, Justin, if you pull them backwards. If you just slip it under that part.
Mine's not the same as yours, then.
Does yours look like this?
Yeah, but my boot isn't the same as yours.
Does it just pop over like that?
It doesn't fit on this thing right here.
Oh.
It's supposed to. So it's supposed to fit right here, so you can just go like.
Yeah, you take the big end, Justin.
Put your coat on, Colin. The gun doesn't work. The
Or
big gun's for the kind that Scott has.
Or you can do the little leg. Pull backwards. Is that what you talked about? I feel like taking the love. Taking the love. You're weird, Justin. Thanks. Thanks. Thanks.
Yeah, I like being right.
Oh, thanks.
Zip them, Colin.
I'm zipping. Yeah, I'm zipping. I feel like
Going through the door. Excuse me. See what Grandpa's doing. Oh, I can catch him.
I'm ready
no,
to
you
go
can't catch
skating.
him.
How come everybody else isn't ready?
I'm ready.
At least I'm getting
Where's
ready.
Trish the dish?
I'm almost ready.
You aren't even dressed yet.
Trish the dish. I ski undressed.
Scott doesn't look ready.
Scott doesn't look ready at all.
I'll walk
Trish
out
the
the door
dish
before
that
you.
smells like a fish.
Barbara doesn't look ready.
She's making brownies.
Oh, she's working on them already. You sure you throw the egg yolks out of the egg?
No.
No.
We don't want hard, flat brownies. I'm not going to tell you. Put in an extra egg. Yeah. Throw in some extra butter. Extra oil. Extra everything, huh?
I don't know how to turn this thing off.
Press the red button.
Press the red button.
Okay. Say goodbye, everybody.
Bye. Goodbye, everyone. Oh no. This red button here.